Hello, YouTube land. I am bored shitless, so I thought I would jump on here. Let's say that again. I thought I would jump on here and see if anyone's around because I am really bored and have nothing to do. And there's not exactly anyone online I really want to go to this moment in time. So yeah, I'm checking out any Hive members around. Come on in, have a chat. Let's give it 5 minutes and see if somebody turns up. Welcome in, make a coffee, settle down. Let us see who's around. Hi, Kaleidoscope of Crime. How you doing? At least I got someone around. How have you been? Hope you're doing well. I'm just really bored, so I thought I would chuck on a live and see who comes, if anybody, and have a general chat about whatever. Nothing in particular. Good to see you, Kaleidoscope. And let me know you're good, up late. What's the time where you are? It is 5:38 p.m. here, so it's like dinner time. Hey, Julie, good to see you. Thought you might be around. I'm a little bit bored, so I was just seeing who's about. How's your day been, honey? Did you guys? Oh, Kaleidoscope says 10:30 p.m. Oh, that's late-ish. Did you guys see that huge picture I put on my community post of the amount of sleeping bags and blankets I've got donated today? What a damn mission. And actually, half of it's still in my car because I haven't got a place to store it in my house. But I shouldn't complain, right? Because I've got stuff, which is what I wanted. Hey, Julie. You're a morning person. I am not a morning person. No way. Anyhow, no, not a morning person. Except I must say, since I've been at home and not working, I've been going to bed at generally like 11, 12 and waking up at like 5 or 6 o'clock a.m. and then not being able to go to sleep. The good thing about that is some of the best channels are on at that time from the USA. So I can jump on a panel at 7 o'clock in the morning in my pajamas with my bed here and catch up with people. So that's pretty cool. Timelines do have their advantages, I guess. Great, I am working on an art project for the garden. Congrats for the homeless donations. Winter's always a bad time. Yeah, I was really lucky that I got onto a backpackers, and he said to me, over the years, backpackers have come and gone and they've left a lot of their bedding and those bed rolls and that behind in the sleeping bags. And he said, and then when he showed me the amount, I was like, oh my God, my car was full to the brim. So like, I'll have to start getting other stuff rather than sleeping bags because I don't need those now. And I've got to try and wash them all, which is going to be a bit of a mission, to be honest. Hey, darling. You just go share my link and be right back. Oh, you're a lovely lady. I was just talking to her, actually. Commented on one of my posts and I was saying hello to her. So I'm glad everyone's around for a chat. I really don't have much to chat about. I was supposed to go live tomorrow with a USA Vermont state thing, but I realized I've got this really important meeting with my ex-work place tomorrow. And then on Friday, because tomorrow's Thursday, and then Friday, my son has invited his mum out for lunch for St. Paddy's Day. And I don't have to pay a thing. So that's me. And I don't get to see him often because he's a chef and he works like mad hours. So the fact that he wants to see his mum and have dinner with his mum because he's like 26, I'm there. Hey, Grandma Sherry, past your bedtime, just saying hi. Well, darling, thank you so much. If you're not subbed to Grandma Sherry, please, if we don't have our kaleidoscope, you're a mod. We need to get her channel. I'm just trying to do something on YouTube. Give me a moment. I can't see who's a mod. She's a mod. Yeah. Kaleidoscope, are you still in the house? Grandma Sherry, I'll just look you up, honey. Get your link. Oh, hang on. What's it called? What's your channel called, Grandma Sherry, darling? So I can find a link for you. Because we want to support all the creators that I align with. I align with quite a few. And we need to all support each other. Sorry, trying to figure out how to copy link on phone. Oh, if you're having trouble, Kaleidoscope, I'll have a look for it myself. Just give me 5 minutes. I know that I'm Grandma Sherry. There you go. I found ya. The Burrow Reporter. Where am I? Right, I hope that works, right? Okay, so that is Grandma Sherry. She has got the sweetest, nicest, kindest voice you'll ever know, and she's so damn lovely everywhere I see her. And yeah, go up and sub to her. She needs the help, like we all do. No worries, darling. I don't mind at all. It's good to see you. So is there any cases in the headlines today that we need to talk about? There was a couple of kids in Australia missing. We touched on them yesterday. It didn't have copy, Grandma. That's all right. We figured it out anyway, Kaleidoscope. So yeah, Julie is from Australia. Do you know, hun, if you're still on here, do you know about those kids that were missing? They got found? Oh, my squeak plate says good night to Ronnie. Ronnie's not in here. I don't know where he is. He's supposed to be my co-host, but he's off chasing the girls somewhere. Pretty freaking rude, They got found. Oh, that's good. I'm so glad. That's really good. Oh, dear. There's crime going on everywhere. I just, well, Clyde says, I was so busy researching for our show, I'm a bit out of touch. What show is this? Yeah, no, what show are you talking about? You've probably told me, and I probably have forgotten, but tell me again, Kaleidoscope, because I forgot. It'd be good to see. I like seeing what my subs are up to, for sure. I can hear Ronnie at the door. Hold the phone. Oh, you're late for work. We're online already. Hey, you're late for our job. You're supposed to be my co-host and you're leaving me by myself. Oh, you've got a channel, Kaleidoscope? What's it called? Why wasn't I aware of this, or am I being aware of this? You did a live earlier. Oh, well, put your channel in if you can. Put your link in, hun. Why did I not know that? If anybody comes in here and has a channel and they're on the right side of YouTube, then I love supporting creators. I think it's fantastic. Hello, darling. How are you? Where you been? Hey? Well, no, they don't want your bum. No bums, and get your bum out of the shot. It's rude. We've been wondering where you were because you're supposed to be my co-host. You were out. Hey? What were you doing? You don't sit there. Sit on your bed. That's what your bed is for. Bed. Bed? You dickhead. Oh, dear. Yeah, so what is your show, though? Your channel. Put your channel links in. I know this is not a very good time to go live, being that it's 6 p.m. and most Kiwis are going to be sitting down to watch the 6 p.m. news, to hear what disasters have gone on. Did you guys watch the latest video that I managed to put out? I can hear you purring. They aren't saying anything yet about the girls, just that they are found. It was their biological mother that took them, if that's correct, wasn't it? So it was sort of a parental one. Still counted as an abduction, mind you. No, my co-host is gone. He's pretty damn rude. I don't know if there's anything new on the Idaho 4. You guys all know about that case? I'm wondering if there's anything new being released. So I'll have a look. Just give me a moment, guys. I'm just saying if there's anything new to report. I did see something earlier on, so I'm hoping I can find it. Oh. Sorry you don't know, but it's your name. A light. Oh, all right, done, shared. Can focus on chat now. Awesome. So Kaleidoscope of Crime, if I just type your name into YouTube, Kaleidoscope of Crime, get in there. Of Crime. Is it Kaleidoscope Crime Patrol? I've got something that says Kaleidoscope Crime Patrol, but I don't think that's you. I will make sure on the next live Kaleidoscope that I find it and we put up your link for sure. Because I don't think that one's yours. I can't find it. Well, I'll have a good look later on though. Yes. No. It's fine. Anyway, yeah, so any Idaho 4 updates? Are you all up to date with that case and been watching it? And did you see the video I put out today already? Click on the channel, go to about, hard press. Yeah, I can't even find the channel. That's the thing at the moment, and I just don't want to sit here and having to play around with my mind for 10 years trying to find it. But I'll definitely put it on my to-do list for sure. So what do you think, Julie, of the video? What do you think about this guy? It's odd. It's odd that he goes missing during Cyclone Gabrielle, and he's not back. He's like his bank accounts haven't been touched. Um, his calls don't go to they just go to voicemail. So it's really, really strange. There was no indication that he wanted to leave his family or anything. Oh, awesome. Kaleidoscope. I will sub to you right now. So if everyone could sub to Kaleidoscope of Crime, that would be cool. You've seen the Moscow case following it? You haven't watched the video? Okay, so you know how in the last couple of weeks, about 2 weeks ago, we had that Cyclone Gabrielle, and it washed out and destroyed bridges, land, roads, houses in the North Island. Now, this guy was going from Gisborne to Napier, which is just down the side of the North Island where that cyclone hit, to visit, and he was going to turn around and come straight home to his 9 kids and his missus. But he ended up staying in a motel because of the worsening weather, and because of Cyclone Gabrielle, he would not have been able to do a straight line home, that's for sure. But no one's heard from him since. No one's found his truck that he was driving. No one has found any sign from him. And now the cops are saying that they don't even know if it is actually the cyclone that made him disappear. They wonder if it's something else. Julie, he may not be found if he was in the pathway of a natural disaster. His body could be anywhere. That's true. That's very true. He could have been swept out to sea, for sure. But I don't know what would happen to his late model ute. He went to a motel. He went to a motel for one night and left at like 5-ish in the morning. And he was seen on CCTV a couple of times around the Napier area, but he hasn't made it home. He's still missing, and he's the only person missing now after Cyclone Gabrielle. And like I said, police are saying, oh, well, it might not be about cyclone, the cyclone that he's missing, but it might be. So they don't fucking know what they're talking about, really, do they? Yeah, I heard of his wife looking for him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. The family have been really, really vocal. The police the family feel like the police has treated them as if Joseph is a criminal, and that's what they sort of get from the police. But as far as I can tell, he's not a criminal. He's just a loving dad of 9 children. You see, he has heaps of pictures of his kids. Do you guys want to watch it now? We could watch it. Well, they seen his ute on CCTV, but they didn't know if he was in it. They couldn't tell if he was in it. So, yeah, he opted to stay at a motel because the weather was bad and it was late. Roads were dangerous. Absolutely. That's why he chose to. The heifer next door, hey, just dropping by to show some love. I appreciate that, darling. Just flick me a like. I'll be happy. Thank you so much for saying hello. Where's the rest of the Queen Bee crew, heifer? I couldn't see that Queen Bee was going on live, so I thought I would go. So if you see any of that crew, push them along this way if they want to chat. Do you guys want to watch that video? Or, hello, darling, are you back? Are you back, my dear? hi. Nice of you to come back. He's purring his head off. So he tried to stay safe and vanished anyhow. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let me see. I'll have a look. It's only like 15 minutes, so it's not a big one. Are you going to watch with us, darling? I just don't know how loud it is. It didn't really... hang on. Hang on. I'm getting just mixed up here. Right. Shh. Okay. I'm just getting a bit mixed up. Don't know. She said she was going live, but haven't seen anyone. This is New Zealand. So I'm just trying to... Oh, okay. That's what's wrong. Okay. Okay, I'm having technical difficulties, but I think I've got it. So the only thing that the recording volume from this was actually a little low, so you might need to turn up. Can you hear now? Okay, I've started again. Can you hear now? Let me know. Hi, Melanie. So can you guys not actually hear the video at all? I've just paused it. Can you not? I mean, I know that you have to turn your video, your sound up a little bit because it is a bit quiet. You can't hear it, Kaleidoscope? Can anyone else hear it? You felony Melanie has a good name. No sound. Oh, that's weird as shit. I can hear it. Um, I don't know what to do. I've got my shit. Okay. I'm not quite sure what to do to make it any louder. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so we're not going to be able to do that, which is a bummer. So we'll have to think of something else. I know that when I recorded the video, the sound was quite low for some reason. My computer did this update thing. Do it like a slideshow and narrate each scene, perhaps. Oh, okay, give me a look. I'll try that. That'll be funny if I can do that. Now I've got to find it again. That was hard enough finding it the first time. Okay. No, that's not me. Videos. Okay, I'll read. Are you ready? Okay, first we're going to the police website and it says Joseph, age 40, left home in Gisborne on Monday, the 13th of February, around 4 p.m., heading to Napier and intending to return around 2 a.m. on Tuesday, 14th of February. So he left Gisborne Monday, 13th of February, around 4 p.m., heading to Napier. He was driving a white Toyota Hilux registration DZH116. Due to the weather conditions, Joseph stayed at a hotel on Marine Parade in Napier, and we'll look at where it is in a minute. He was last seen leaving the hotel at 4:28 a.m. on Tuesday, 14th of February, and has not been heard from since. So let's go to the map and have a look. This is the North Island, and Gisborne up the top here is where he came from, and he was heading down to Napier. We'll go close. So normally they would travel from Gisborne here and use this road down to Napier, which is down here. But the problem is that the roads all got washed out along here. So he couldn't get back this way. If he wanted to go home, Google Maps is saying they have to go right around, which is a long way out of the way, you know. Yes. Okay. So this is a photo of the Hilux. Um, Pretty late model. So due to the weather conditions, he stayed in that Napier hotel for the night. Got up at 4:28, the 14th, and has not been heard from since. Now, his vehicle was seen on CCTV in Havelock North heading south at 5:15 a.m. and did not return. So the police are saying that he was last seen on CCTV footage down here. Hey, Phoebe, darling. Heading south, and that was seen on CCTV footage. So hang on, go forward. So obviously, State Highway 2 north back to Gisborne would have been impassable at this time due to the flooding. Police, along with his whānau, want to know where he is and that he's safe. And I've got contact information for the police in the description box below. We'll go to the next one. This is from rnz.co.nz, and this was on the 2nd of March. Fresh appeal for sightings of missing Gisborne man, Joseph. Police are renewing their appeals for sightings of a man who disappeared about the time Cyclone Gabrielle hit Hawke's Bay in the east coast. Joseph again left his home in Gisborne Monday 13th around 4 p.m. to go to Napier. He actually intended to return around 2 a.m. the following day. He was driving a white Toylux, as we know, and the weather conditions were not the best for him to return home. Despite him not being seen since the poor weather began, police actually no longer believe his disappearance is related to the cyclone, which I don't understand. But again, they just want him found. So basically, if he is out there, hey dude, hey mate, if you ever see this live, which is highly damn unlikely, let your family know that you are okay. And Monday, police said it was unlikely his disappearance was cyclone related, but they wouldn't rule it out. So they changed it a bit. All right, next. Missing man seen heading towards Wairoa on the morning of the cyclone. So it's a little change again, which we'll look at. Footage from CCTV showing missing father Joseph was last seen heading towards Wairoa from Napier. So they're saying he's going a bit of a different way than they said before, which is a bit weird. It's now been a month since the 40-year-old went missing on the morning that the cyclone actually hit. And police said his white Toyota Police said his Toyota Hilux. Oh, fuck, man, I can't speak. Hang on a minute. I need a drink. I've lost my talking privileges. Yeah, it's odd the police think that. Well, first the police say, oh, we're certain, kind of certain that it wasn't because of the cyclone, but they don't sort of elaborate any further. And then they said, oh, they don't think it's from the cyclone, but they can't rule that out. So I don't know. But again, the police put him in Havelock North at 5:15 a.m. via CCTV. Now his daughter has revealed that, yeah, last confirmed sighting of the father was actually at a Waitomo petrol station. So just yeah, so this is a bit different. Now they're saying that he was actually seen by CCTV here, heading up towards Wairoa, which is at the top here. So whether he went down to Havelock North and then decided to turn around and go back up the other day, yeah. This is his brother who came from Christchurch to help search. Now, these guys have been to shelters, they've run hospitals, they've run jails, they've run, everywhere. They've taken drives everywhere to try and find him or try finding his truck, and they just haven't been able to find. Yeah. So his daughter or his kids are asking anyone in the Bayview area with security cameras that were working on that day just to check and keep looking for this guy. Something's wrong. Um, the brother. Oh, hang on. I'll actually paint this one back a bit. Yeah, so this was his brother. He said he hasn't made contact, oh no, his daughter, or anything with his partner, me, or my siblings and family, which is unusual. His phone goes straight to answer phone, and we're trying our hardest not to worry. Come home safe to us, Dad. We'll never stop searching for you. Um, 2 weeks after he disappeared, and the police said they believed his disappearance was unlikely to be cyclone related. At the time, Whānau said they were shocked the police statement appeared to cast doubt on the reason for his disappearance. The brother always believed Joseph was desperate to get home to Gisborne to be with his partner and 9 children, especially during the cyclone, because his partner had to go through the cyclone alone. Yeah, Sixth Sense, Amelia. The last place was that Bayview on CCTV. And it seems like the relationship with the police is kind of broken down with the family. So the brother said, my brother was not in any trouble with the law when he went missing. To the best of his knowledge, he didn't suffer any mental health issues. His partner last heard from him on the Monday night before Cyclone Gabrielle hit. He had been planning to head back to her in Gisborne, but then decided that both of them decided for him to stay in the hotel. His last text at 1 a.m. on Tuesday was to ask her if she was okay. It was sent not long before communications went down in the region. Yeah, we did see when the last sighting was. It was the 14th, early in the morning, about 5:30 in the morning on the 14th. Clarissa has heard nothing from him since and is distraught, obviously. His bank account had not been touched and calls to his phone did not connect. Initially, she searched extensively, visiting welfare centres in Napier and scanning roads for a Hilux. There's not much on this page. It was just really more from the family. But yeah, this Waitomo Bayview here was the last place he was seen. All right. That's about it, guys. It's wasn't a very big video. But it's actually a bit of a weird one, to be honest. I don't know. What do you guys think? It seems a bit odd. I'd say the most likely thing is drowned. Bayview and Esk Valley got annihilated. 2 meters of silt, houses floating away. Yeah. And initially I thought maybe if he was carried away by the waters and say his body was taken out to sea or something when the water receded, what happened to his truck? I mean, we did see that a couple of cars had been moved, but not moved enough to not find them, if you know what I mean. All the cars were found. There was no, I haven't heard that any cars floated out to sea. Could a car float out to sea? I don't know. Yeah, so it was the 14th of February. Not likely the cyclone, but maybe it is. Well, if it's not the cyclone, then what is it then? You know? And maybe they found evidence to suggest it wasn't the cyclone. Well, if they've suggested any evidence, it's not been published and the family don't know about it, because the family are pretty hot on the heels. But you'd think his ute would be found. Exactly. I'm thinking, yeah, he could have drowned and gone out to sea very easily. I just don't know what happened. But the cyclone was pretty bad. 6 cents Amelia, 4:30 a.m. was the peak of the cyclone. No power, no cell phone, roads and bridges washed away, landslips. Yeah, I don't know why then the cops are so sure it wasn't the cyclone then. You know what I mean? It's weird. He is the only outstanding person from the cyclone that's missing. There was 3 or 4 uncontactable at the last stage, but a couple of them were on the run from the police and one was in prison or something. So, and they were all accounted for. But he was, or still is, the last outstanding person missing from the cyclone, or not missing from the cyclone. But it's also possible he got out of his ute during a cyclone. Absolutely. Well, where did he leave the ute, though? It is weird. And then, people could say, oh, maybe he was planning to leave his family and I don't know, have a break or something like that. But he hasn't touched his bank account and all the calls go to voicemail. Now, I've seen a few pictures of him and he is always holding his babies. It sounds like he is a really good dad as well. Heifer says you would think he would have stayed at the hotel for safety. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to leave at 4:30 in the morning in the middle of a cyclone. Doesn't make sense to me at all. I love your name, by the way. Yeah, why the hell would you leave at 4:30 when it's the the middle of the cyclone? It just doesn't compute for me. I don't know. It's a really odd one. That's what I was thinking. The heifer next door, he went to the hotel at 2 a.m. So it's weird. Doesn't compute. So I will have a look on my channel and see if we can watch something else as well. If he's a dedicated dad, the cyclone might increase his urgency to get back to the family. Actually, I didn't even thought of that. Of course, instead of staying in the motel, he's probably thinking, I've got to get back to my 9 children and my partner, because they are doing it alone. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to show you another odd one, but I just don't want to find one that's too long. And you're going to have to tell me whether you can hear this one. And if you can't hear it, let me know. Where was he going or coming from? So he was going from his home in Gisborne down to Napier to see an auntie. Because the cyclone was started to hit, it was agreed that he would stay in a motel in Napier, and I don't know for how long, but he left that hotel at 4:30 a.m. and he was seen on CCTV footage heading towards back home. But the thing is that the cyclone hit at that immediate time and roads were washed out, bridges were washed out. It was insane. And the areas his car would have been in were annihilated and by that storm. May have known he wouldn't get through if he didn't leave then. The whole area was cut off for weeks. Yeah. It's an odd one. I just thought, it's been 4 weeks now, and there's been a lot of recovery missions in there. There's been Landstar teams and helicopters, and we've had the army in there, and civil defense in there, and welfare. We've had a lot down there, resources. So it's just odd. But of course, I will keep an eye on it and see if anything comes up. So tell me if you can hear this one, guys. Can you hear that one? Were you able to hear that, guys? In that coastal parts of the road, it's possible a vehicle could have been washed into the ocean. I don't know I don't know if a vehicle got washed into the ocean, wouldn't it just get like land on the beach or something? I mean, how far's a car going to float? Wouldn't it just go in and see? I'm just no. I don't know. Why can't you guys hear? No, they haven't found his car, Julie. Nope, they've found Nunham and they have not found his car. So, yeah, I do not know. I'm going to go into audio. It says the speakers are allowed. But all the silt in the rivers, maybe the car sank. That's not a silly idea. Maybe it did sink. Absolutely. I'm trying to find out why you guys can't hear. It's really pissing me off. I don't know. One more time I'm going to play it. It's going to be a short video. Unfortunately, there was only a few articles that I could find about his disappearance, and they were very short, very little information, and then a lot of them just copied and pasted. Did you hear that at all, guys? I'm going to look up, if I go to settings, I'm going to find like audio, sound. Okay. I'm just trying to find. Oh my God, where have I gone? Oh no, get me back out of there. Oh fuck, I'm lost now. Settings. Everything says that everything's going, so I'm not sure why. Hang on. My computer did this hell update earlier on, and I'm wondering if something like that's effed it up. Now I've lost you guys. There you are. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, you can hear it. All right. Let me play it now. Hang on. So I've just tried to sort of pack out what I could to give you the best information. So, did you hear that? I might have done something right. So are we good to go with this one? What's the weather like over here? Well, it's actually just the end of our summer here first, so yeah, we were lucky. All right, I'm going to play this. If you can't hear it again, let me know. Joining me today. Today we're talking about the disappearance of a young man called Joseph Webb. Now, this is going to be a short video. Unfortunately, there was only a few articles that I could find about his disappearance, and they were very short, very little information, and then a lot of them just copied and pasted each other. So I've just tried to sort of pack out what I could to give you the best information. So let's take a look. last seen a week ago walking around the Whakatane coastline at Kohai Point between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Joseph's mum, Tina, told the Rotorua Daily Post, while the past few days have been exhausting, she and Joseph's 3 siblings remained positive he would be found. She said, "We're a pretty tight-knit family and we've definitely had our up and down moments since he'd been missing. But we lean on each other and bounce off each other every day, and I hope that that tight family unit has really helped them." For the past 5 days, search teams included training search dogs, surf club volunteers, Coast Guard volunteers, helicopters and drones have been scouring the wider Kohai Point area where we was last seen. So you can tell that they actually did initially put a lot of resources into looking for him. His mum, Tina, said, "We've had so many friends and family join the search, some of these people we hadn't seen for years, but when they heard Joseph was missing, they came to help out. Many had travelled large distances to be in Whakatane, and she said the support had been overwhelming, and I am really, really glad that people rallied around the family at the time and gave them that support, which must have been invaluable, and I hope in the time since that they've had support as well." His mum said she'd positively identified pieces of clothing belonging to Joseph that had been found on the beach, but believed they had been placed there by walkers who had found them somewhere in the bush. And we'll look at those clothing in a minute. Joseph had dealt with bouts of depression in the past, and Tina believes he may have gone into the bush in an effort to get himself better. While search and rescue teams today scaled back their search in the area Joseph was last seen, family, friends and police have vowed to continue. So, if he had gone bush to make himself feel better, is it weird that they haven't found, or they didn't find him, like even his remains, if that was the case? I don't know. Police had a drone up there today and are expecting a bigger one with more capability tomorrow. We are also looking at other areas that were special to Joseph. Tina urged the public to keep an eye out for her son. She said, "It might be the smallest thing, but I ask anyone who sees anything to contact Tom." That's a tongue tie. Mouth mush. Let's try it again. "It might be the smallest thing, but I ask anyone who sees anything to contact police." Police have also urged anyone who walked the Kohai Point track on that Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. So you're going to have to go back in your head, guys, if you were around and, think about it. And if you think you've seen Joseph, or someone that may have been Joseph, to get in touch. Again, he is described as medium build with short dark hair, short cut moustache. He has tamoko on his left upper arm. I don't know why I'm pointing to my right one, because we're back to front, and was wearing dark coloured track pants when he was last seen. Anyone with information can call police on 105 and quote the number 190724/0842, and I'm going to have that information in the description box below. Tina, his mum, said, "I just want my son home. He is so very loved and so very missed." So, heartbreaking. So this is the clothing that was found on the beach around their heads, and they think that someone put it there, like other trappers or something like that, put it on the beach perhaps. But if you remember seeing this clothing or seeing someone wearing this clothing that day, if you can remember, if it was just the smallest thing that you remember. So, again, last confirmed sighting of Joseph occurred on Tuesday, 23rd of July 2019 between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. at the Whakatane Heads. And this is from the police.govt website, and all the links will be in the description box below. So you guys are really going to have to think back. Is it likely that anyone would remember back then? I talk. I was trying not to breathe through that whole thing so you wouldn't hear me breathing either. I don't know why it is so low. We've been having weird weather here as well. Like we've been getting down to, I think, 6 degrees overnight. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's quite cold for just coming out of summer. And then we're having like hot days. And then we had cyclones, and we don't usually have cyclones, and the damage from the cyclone was unreal. So yeah, definitely things are weird in the world, and it seems as though like climate change is happening. And does that mean it's going to be worse? You know what I mean? And things are just going to keep being awful. Good night, Kaleidoscope. Yeah, it has. It definitely has. So I don't know what hope there is. And we can't stop the climate crisis either. I mean, it doesn't matter what we do now. It's done, you know what I mean? The damage is done. I'm just looking at, because I don't want to put one that's too long. I'm here, guys. I'm just okay. Can you tell me if you can hear this one? Good night, Kaleidoscope. Could you hear that one with my wig on? What a dick. How nice to live just out of Savannah, Georgia. That's so cool. So if I press play, can you guys hear this?
I do appreciate each and every one of you. Today, we're going to talk about another beautiful young Māori woman who has gone missing here in New Zealand. Her name is Leonie Emery. She's a mother of 5 children and has been missing since January 2018. We're going to see how we can help. Stick around after as I have an update on Jamie Cowboy. Alright, let's get into it, guys.
Police are releasing new information as part of a renewed public appeal into the
/9022. So let's see what has brought this case finally to the attention of the public. Also remember that everything I read is going to be in the description box below, so if you want to look more into some of the links that I have or some of the stories, you can do that yourself by going to the description box. Right, let's get into it. Okay, we're at stuff.co.nz, and this was written on August the 17th. Missing woman Leonie Emery last seen in Narrowa Wahia. This is by Mina Kerr-Lazenby. New information relating to the disappearance of missing woman Leonie Emery has emerged, following a public call-out police issued on Monday. Emery, or Leonie, is a mother of 5 and was reported missing in February 2019, but hasn't been seen by her family since January 2018. She was just 26 years old, so she's a really young mum, and there's 5 kids missing their mum. On Monday, Detective Sergeant Rob Hunkin said she had last been seen in a North Waikato town in Wekakowai, a small community outside Huntly. We're actually going to go and have a look soon at where these places are. She had travelled there from South Auckland with friends around New Year 2017, he had said. Her last known address was in Bombay, rural South Auckland. Further inquiries have now placed Leonie in Narrowa Wahia on January the 26th to 18, with police believing she travelled to the Waikato town on January the 12th, 2018. We did not previously have this sighting or information, so it is extremely relevant to our investigation, said Hunkin on Tuesday. He also said that police are very interested in finding out how she travelled to Narrowa Wahia and what her movements were between January the 12th to the 26th in 2018. We are also very keen to hear from anyone who saw Leonie in the Narrowa Wahia area or knows anything about her disappearance. He said it may have been that she has left Narrowa Wahia, so we're also hoping anyone who has any information on Leonie's whereabouts will get in touch with us urgently. Leonie had spent time working as a farmhand, and in the months before her disappearance had worked as a truck driver. Leonie's mum said she had never given up on searching for her and would keep going until she was found. Hunkin said police are keeping an open mind as to the circumstances of Leonie's disappearance, and this is still being treated as a missing persons case. Okay, so they threw a few towns. Now, I know I always do this backwards. So this is the North Island of New Zealand. She lived here in Auckland, and down here is those places that she mentioned, and that was mentioned. So they said that she was known to be in this place, which is just outside of Huntly, and then now they've got new information that places her down here in Narrowa Wahia. If we look at this view, I mean, there's a big sort of, Hamilton's a big town, so it's a little way out. There's not much out here in the country. Quick thing about Narrowa Wahia, it is a town in the Waikato region of the North Island of New Zealand. Narrowa Wahia is in the Hamilton urban area, the 4th largest urban area in New Zealand, and it had a population of 6,621 in the 2018 New Zealand census. So, not an overly big place.
She's never led the news, and there's been no police press conferences. But it's been 3 years since Leonie Emery disappeared. And her whānau are desperate for answers. Tell me what it's like not knowing what's happened to your daughter. Sad, really. I'm going to cry. It's alright.
This is really tough to watch. Now, this is newshub.co.nz. Missing woman Leonie Emery. Police believe she was alive for at least 3 weeks after family lost contact. This was released on the 16th of the 8th, 2021, by Mahunga Rangi Forbes. Just quickly before we go on, if you have any information about the cases I cover, including this
So
one,
sad, eh?
you can call Crime
so sad covering these cases sometimes.
It's anonymous. You can call 105 or go online or just go to your local police station. Any case suggestions?
All the stuff like my bank account, PayPal, buy me a coffee, the Facebook page, website, all that shit's on there.
There's other ways to share this by Leonie Emery following her disappearance in early 2018. In an exclusive interview with the Hui, police now believe she was alive for at least 3 weeks after her whānau lost contact with her on January the 2nd. They've also traced her last known movements of the 25-year-old to the small Waikato town of Huntly. Leonie's mum has spent the past 3 years searching small, more violent towns trying to find information. She has spent a lot of time thinking about the circumstances surrounding her death because Leonie would have never left her 5 children. She was a good mum. She loved her children, her mum said. She has been critical of the police's investigation of her daughter's disappearance. Besides a missing persons post and an appearance on Police 10-7, there has been no press conferences or fresh appeals for information. And
So Police 10-7 in New Zealand is like Crime Watch, basically. So she had a little thing, a little story, a little blurb on Crime Watch, but then that was pretty much in the media. And she is an Indigenous woman, a Māori woman, and there is, all over the world, there is movements because of Indigenous women being murdered and missing, and the police not giving them the attention they deserve. Happens in New Zealand too.
sadly, we have seen this before. Also, in the case of a young Māori woman that has gone missing, and there's a lot of people are thinking that Māori women do not get the attention as other missing people do, and we've sort of seen that before, but we're going to talk a bit more about that later on. When the Hui met with her, Emery had talked to the police for more than a year. The detective in charge of the case, Rob Hunkin, says the young woman's disappearance is something they take incredibly seriously. He said, "We want her to be assured that we are committed to finding out what's happened to Leonie," he says. Detective Hunkin met with her mum last week and says police appreciate that it's the worst case scenario her family could be going through. He said, "But for a variety of reasons, we can't always communicate everything we know to maintain the integrity of the investigation," he said.
Same words we get over in the USA, guys, when we cover US stories. We can't tell the family everything we know, or the public everything we know, because they want to, keep the integrity of the case. So, and you've got to understand that. But when you're a grieving family, it's just tough, right?
What the police were able to tell Emery is that her daughter was dropped off in Papakura on January the 12th, 2018, which is in Auckland. She then went to Ngaruawahia, and the last confirmed sighting of her was in Huntly on January 26th, 2018. It's funny when you go to different news sources, and we only have like 2 in New Zealand, but they say something a little different on each one, and that makes it just a little bit hard to get accurate information. The police are appealing for anyone who saw her in either Ngaruawahia or Huntly on or around these dates to come forward. Any information could help the case, her mum said. Somebody knows something. If she is dead, we know where she is. She needs to be put to rest.
And another thing that we talk about a lot on this page is with everywhere, I think, if you've got a missing person, the family seems to feel like they would make a choice if they could, whether to get justice and find out who done it and get them gone through the courts and that, or whether just to have their remains of their loved one home, if that's what's happened, so they can bury them with the dignity they deserve, and so the children can go somewhere. I'm going to cry. To mourn and grieve. We speak about that all the time.
Very, very sad. So, a very, very sad story. And for me, there was no information even now, this is a very small video because the few places that actually I can go to for reports are all saying the same thing mostly, and then you get a couple of them that are saying a little bit was last seen, but we know Huntly and Ngaruawahia are the areas that they are interested in. Please call 0800 555 111 if you have any information. We need to bring this girl home for her family. She needs to be put to rest so they can get some peace and some closure.
Yeah, so that's a short one, but again, not a lot of information. So again, I'm thinking that maybe aliens just come and took these people, because I don't know where they all go. And I'm not trying to just make light of people missing or anything like that, but just sometimes I just don't know. I mean, it's just poof. And I don't understand. I've got another one here. I've got a couple. I've got one about the murder of a child. I don't know if anyone would be keen on that one. It's obviously a very, very sad one. Or I can choose something different. I don't know if... Amelia, have you seen the one about the death of Chris and Prue Kahui, the twins? Yeah, the Jamie Kawai is the case that bugs the crap out of me too. We'll have a look. I might play this one. Tell me if you can hear.
Welcome to New Zealand Mysteries. This is TJ. This is...
The reason I say this is New Zealand has actually got one of the worst rates in the modern world for child harm and child deaths, which is, for a small country that's supposed to be clean and green and great and friendly and amazing to live, we still have our dark secrets, right? So this is quite a sad one. It is about babies, but I've tried to make it as less graphic as possible, so a trigger warning. But as you see, the violent deaths of these twins, and no one has been held accountable, which seems to happen a bit here. Let me know if it's too much.
Emotional case we're looking at this week. The violent deaths of Chris and Prue Kahui. No one has been ever held accountable for the deaths of those two young babies. There is viewer discretion advised in this video. It does talk about young children and their passing, and some disturbing comments about how they were killed as well. So if that's not your thing, please don't put yourself through it. Please bow out and go and watch one of my many other shows, or live streams, or videos. Alright, we're going to start and see what we can see wrong in this case, and why these little kids have no justice. Let's go.
Okay, see you
We're
later.
actually going to look at two articles that I found.
We might not watch this one. I just don't feel right about it, actually, to be honest. I'll find something else. Because everybody just left when I put that on. And I don't want that happening. So let me find one of my other ones that's not so horrible. No worries, Amelia. Oh, come on now. Don't do that. Alright, here we are. This one's an odd one.
Kia ora everyone, I'm TJ. Welcome back to my channel.
Look at me.
If you are new around here and you want to become part of a compassionate, caring community who want to raise awareness about cases and seek answers for victims and their families, you are in the right place. So please hit that subscribe button somewhere down there and join us. If you are a returning subscriber, many thanks. You know how
Right.
I really
Amelia.
appreciate each and every one of you. So I'm taking a break after releasing part 2 in my Scott Watson deep dive. If you haven't already, please watch it. You might find out info that you've never heard before, and I hope to release the last part in a week or so.
So, if you don't know, back when I was first starting out, I didn't want people to know who I was, so I wore a wig and sunglasses and looked really stupid. But it is what it is, right?
In this video, we're looking at the murder of 66-year-old Sydney Boyd in Christchurch in 2006. This is a really sad case that has barely had any media at all. In fact, I have only managed to find one article on this case. It does remain unsolved. This is definitely a story that needs our help. We need to share it as much as we can. It really deserves more attention. So quickly before I get started, I genuinely don't mean any disrespect or grief to anyone involved in the cases I cover. All the information I use is freely available on the internet, and my hope and my dream is to just raise awareness of these cases, keep them alive, and I really wish we could help find some answers. Let's get into it. And sorry about my phone, by the way. This case happens in Christchurch. It is the largest city in the South Island of New Zealand and the seat of the Canterbury region. The Christchurch urban area lies on the South Island's east coast, just north of Banks Peninsula. The urban area is home to 383,200 residents, and the territorial authority has 394,000 people, which makes it the second most populous city in New Zealand after Auckland and before Wellington. The Avon River flows through the centre of the city with an urban park located along its banks. The city suffered a series of earthquakes between September 2010 and January 2012, with the most destructive of them occurring at 12:51 p.m. on 22nd of February 2011, in which 185 people were killed and thousands of buildings across the city collapsed or suffered severe damage.
I actually was living in Christchurch during these earthquakes, and I'm never going to forget it as long as I live. It was something I don't ever want to see again in my lifetime.
By late 2013, 1,500 buildings in the city have been demolished, leading to an ongoing recovery and rebuilding project. The city later became the site of a terrorist attack targeting 2 mosques on 15th of March 2019, in which 51 people were killed, and which was described by Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern as one of New Zealand's darkest days. This is where Christchurch sits on the east of the South Island. Christchurch sure has had its terrible times. Alright, let's look into our case. I'm really, really lucky that stuff.co.nz did an amazing interactive article on this case, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even know about it. So we're going to just read straight from their interactive, and I want to thank them for their amazing work. Broken glass. Who killed Sydney Boyd? Sydney Boyd died after he was pushed through a window in a block of flats and fell to the ground below in 2006. Suspicion fell on 3 men, 2 of whom are now dead. His family fear it's too late to catch his killer. Sam Sherwood and Blair Ensor investigate. Hopefully it's not too late. You know, maybe we can give the family some answers still. Okay, so these were the flats in a Housing New Zealand complex on Riccarton Road. That's a social housing outfit. They now changed their name. Sorry, it just goes over my head what it's called now. I'll have to find that out. After dark, in the stairwell of a block of Christchurch flats, 2 men were arguing. One of them was Sydney Boyd, a 66-year-old cat lover, who some tenants in the Housing New Zealand complex called the bank because of his willingness to lend money. It wasn't unusual for shouting and yelling to echo around the building, which was home to drunks, drug addicts, and those who'd fallen on hard times. That's definitely not to say that all Housing New Zealand tenants or social housing tenants fall into that category. There are a lot, certainly a lot that don't. heard shattering. Trent Revel, a tenant in the building at 281 Riccarton Road, rang 111 about 8:30 p.m. on May 23, 2006 and told the operator there'd been an incident. "You'd better hurry," he said. "Some guy just went flying out of a first-story window. I think he's dead. He's right outside my effing door." Revel lived at flat 38, which was on the ground floor of C Block, one of 3 identical 3-story blocks at the social housing complex. In the background, the operator could hear the sound of a television. Revel said, "You better send the cops as well." He'd been watching Sentencing Murder. The guy upstairs threw him out of the window. Revel told the operator he'd heard 2 men arguing before the incident. One of them told the other to F off repeatedly, shortly before a window shattered and the guy landed in front of me. Emergency services arrived a short time later to find Boyd lying on the ground at the entrance to C Block. Shards of reinforced glass from an 81cm by 77cm window in the building stairwell were scattered on the concrete around him. He had fallen about 2.1 metres and was bleeding heavily from a gash in his head, but was conscious and able to talk. He knew his first name, but couldn't immediately recall his last. Paramedic Wayne asked Boyd what had happened. He said he'd been in a fight and was pushed out the window, but was unable to name his attacker. Boyd was taken to Christchurch Hospital, where his condition deteriorated, and his family was told to expect the worst. So this is Sydney Boyd's family, and what an awful pull to get on that night and to see their loved one like he was. In the weeks that followed, he slowly emerged from an induced coma and communicated with his sister, who probed him for information about the incident. However, hope turned to despair 38 days after Boyd's fall, when he died unexpectedly from a rare complication of a procedure that had been carried out to help him breathe. It should have not have been difficult or a difficult crime to solve, but a lack of credible witnesses and forensic evidence and a failing by police mean his attacker has not been caught. Detectives focused their inquiries on 3 C Block residents: Trent Revel, Todd and Glenn. A coroner later ruled one or more of the men held the key to solving the case. 2 of them have died in the past 2 years, and this came out, I think, in 2020. I'll have a check before we finish. Boyd's family fear it's too late to catch his killer, but remain hopeful they'll learn who was responsible. His family said he got no justice for what he suffered. He had a miserable, long death. And that was from Carol Boyd, his sister. Stuff has obtained never-before-released material about the cold case, including witness statements and scene photographs gathered as part of the police investigation. Police have confirmed a senior investigator was recently tasked with reviewing the file in the coming months. The review was initiated after Stuff contacted the officer in charge of the initial investigation and alerted him to Revel's death last year. He was the oldest of 3 children, and animal lover, absolute animal lover, and bossy, the oldest brother. And
So this is why I do it. I say it all the time. The way why I do this, it's because of the families left behind, and the pain they have to endure once they are the family of a murdered person, relative. Once they are the family of a missing person, they're going to be that for the rest of their lives, their natural life, and that's just a hard pill to swallow, to know that. Very, very sad. So that's why I say I keep doing it, I guess.
he was bright, he was very, very bright at school, did very, very well at school. Sorry that my computer is not good enough to run that, but obviously I will have sources in the description box below so you can go and watch the video yourself. But we'll cover what's in it. Sydney Boyd was the eldest of 4 children, was born in Ashburton, about 80 km south of Christchurch. At school, where he became known as Super Sid, he was a bright student with a flair for art, his family says. He also loved to dance, had a passion for horse riding, and particularly show jumping. At the age of 17, his life took a turn for the worse when he suffered a brain bleed while cross-country running. He was rushed to Dunedin Hospital and underwent urgent surgery. He developed epilepsy in the months following that incident. Despite suffering seizures, Boyd secured employment at various Ashburton businesses, including a brickmaker and an electricity supplier. He also married, but the relationship failed. Boyd shifted to the Riccarton Road complex in about 2000 after an Ashburton Housing New Zealand flat he shared with another man was accidentally burned to the ground. An animal lover, he kept 2 cats and filled his room with the 3 large fish tanks. He was also a familiar face at local thrift shops. However, life wasn't easy for him at the flats, says her sister. Her timid brother often felt threatened and frightened by residents, despite going out of his way to help some of them. Boyd was hounded by people.
I think we have the same problems here as the rest of the world. We have social housing, state housing areas. I'm not quite sure what you call them over in the US. We're a lot for low income people. And often in those complexes you can get drug dealers and you can get gang members and people that aren't so honest and that sort of thing. And I think that's everywhere. The difference is from the US to New Zealand is we don't have guns and we're not gang banging and shooting each other really.
Wanting to borrow money, even though he often didn't have enough to travel to Ashburton to see his family. He wasn't happy there at the complex, but that's what was offered to him, and that's where he had to stay.
It's cool to get the pictures.
On the night of his fall, Boyd walked the short distance from his 8-block home to C Block, where he'd arranged to meet fellow resident Green, who lived in flat 43, for a cup of tea. Green had borrowed money from Boyd and owed him about $30. As Boyd entered the building, it appears he unplugged an extension cord that ran from a shared laundry area into Reville's room on the ground floor. He then began making his way up the stairs to Green's flat, which was on the first floor. Residents gave different accounts of the events that followed. When police arrived, Reville, who'd lived in the complex for about 3 years, emerged from his flat and spoke to Constable Deborah Wilson. A sickness beneficiary, he'd had issues with drugs and alcohol and was known to police. According to police records, Reville told Constable Wilson that he was checking his washing on a clothesline outside when Boyd, whom he didn't know, walked past him and into C Block. A short time later, he noticed the extension cord was slack and found it unplugged. Reville marched up the stairs looking for the culprit and found Boyd just waiting around in the stairwell on the first floor. To his surprise, Boyd confirmed he'd unplugged the cord and then started verbally having a go at me, he said. He said it was like he was drunk or simple. He was swearing at me a lot and told me to bugger off. Reville said he told Boyd to piss off before turning to head back to his room. It was then that the door to flat 44, which was on the first floor, opened. He told Wilson he did not see anyone emerge, but heard the distinctive Canadian accent of a man who lived there. Reville said the man, who he did not know by name, talked to Boyd about how he was over here causing trouble again, for saying 3 times, "Do you want to have a go?" He said he then heard a crash bang noise, and I saw the old guy hit the ground outside. As soon as that happened, the door to flat 44 shut. Nothing was said after that. Reville said he checked Boyd after the fall and, realising he was in a bad way, rang 111 from his room. He remained there until emergency services arrived. The man who lived in flat 44 was Todd Sillinger, a former Papanui High School head boy who was born in Canada and moved to New Zealand when he was about 10 years old. According to police records, he told Constable Stephen Rockford that he was watching a British Army program on television when he heard two males going at each other outside his flat. He recognised both voices. He said one was Boyd's, the other, which was nasally and Australian-like, belonged to Revel. That's what he told Rockford. The pair were arguing about a power cord. They were yelling at each other, but in these places you get used to that. The dispute lasted a minute. I yelled out, "Piss off, you perverts," shortly after I heard glass shattering. Sillinger said he opened his door and made his way down to the stairs directly in front of his flat. He said, "I saw the window in the stairwell smashed and could hear snoring, tight breathing, and knew something was wrong." He looked out the broken window and saw a man lying face down on the ground below. He said, "I went down and found Sid breathing heavily and trying to speak. I couldn't understand what he was trying to say." After attempting to put Boyd in the recovery position so he didn't suffocate on the blood pooling around his head, Sillinger said he went to get help. He rang Revel's doorbell, but there was no response, so he went to the room of a nearby resident and asked him to ring 111. When Sillinger went back outside, he saw a car drive away from the car park, but didn't see what type it was. Emergency services arrived a short time later. Police spoke briefly to Glenn Green, the man Boyd had arranged to visit, who said he'd been home all night. He'd heard a noise about the time of Boyd's fall, but didn't know what it was. 3 days later, Green told Detective Doran Ho that on the night of the incident, he'd nodded off to sleep in his flat and was woken by the sound of people shouting in the stairwell. He said, "I heard a door slam, then I heard someone say, 'You,' really loudly. Then the arguing started." At first, he didn't recognise any of the voices involved in the dispute. At one point, he thought he heard a third person, a man, tell him to fuck off. They were swearing at each other. Then I realised that one of the voices was Sid's because I heard him say, "I'm only up here for a cup of tea." Green recalled someone saying, "Stick your dukes up," shortly before things went quiet. He said, "Then I heard a thud. I didn't hear the sound of glass breaking, I just heard a thud." He remained in his room until he heard what sounded like police radios downstairs about 10 minutes later.
Oh, poor lady.
Just quickly, before we move on, if you have any information on this case, our face is really important to me. Let's get back into it. A sister's detective work. Despite being able to talk at the scene, Sydney Boyd had suffered serious injuries, including a broken neck and a brain bleed. In the days after he was admitted to the hospital's intensive care unit, his condition deteriorated and he was placed in an induced coma. Doctors and family feared he might not survive the week. However, Boyd's condition slowly improved to the point he was conscious and able to communicate with people with his hands. He was unable to talk because he was breathing through a tube that had been inserted into his windpipe. On June 20, nearly a month after the incident, his sister, Carol, visited her brother with a photo of C-Block. Keen to find out who had pushed him through the window, she pointed to a flat on the ground floor and asked, "Was it 38? Residents at the social housing complex had told the family that Trent Revel, the man who lived there, was aggressive, and the incident might have had something to do with a power cord running from the laundry to his unit. But Boyd shook his head. 3 days later, Boyd Wilson, the sister, returned with her mother and her brother's ex-wife. Boyd was wide awake and smiled at them as they entered the hospital room. Boyd Wilson said to her brother, "Who did it?" His hand shook as he wrote the number 43 on a pad she'd brought with her. His sister then showed her brother an enlarged photo she'd taken of the flats, which she'd numbered on the outside. He pointed to the number 43 and the flat where Glenn Green lived on the first floor. "How many people pushed you?" she asked. He held up 2 fingers. She asked him again whether it was the person who lived in flat 38. He shook his head and pointed upwards. She contacted Constable Deborah Wilson on June 26 and told her about the information she'd extracted from her brother and suggested police pay him a visit. That hadn't happened when Boyd died unexpectedly on July 1st as a result of a rare complication from a tracheotomy which caused major blood loss. There was no fault on the part of those involved in his treatment, a pathologist said. Despite the setback, police continued to search for answers for the family, re-interviewing Revell, Green and Salinger. All three men either changed their stories or volunteered new information. So who's telling the truth? Revell's later statements were inconsistent with what he told police on the night of the incident. Two things in particular stood out. First, he told Detective Sergeant Jeff Ruddock, the officer in charge of the investigation, that he'd seen the man from flat 44 emerge from his room immediately prior to Boyd's fall. Previously, he'd said he'd only heard his voice. Revell told Ruddock he did not see the man push Boyd out of the window, but there were only two of them on the landing. Second, Revell told police that rather than tending to his washing prior to arguing with Boyd, as he'd said in his first statement, he was watching television when his fridge and heater lost power. He went outside to investigate what had happened, saw Boyd walking up the stairs and confronted him about the unplugged extension cord. Salinger, when he was re-interviewed in February 2007, said that a few days after Boyd's fall, Green, who he hardly knew, asked him if Revell had been arrested yet and mentioned a Māori man had visited Revell that same night. Green, in one of several additional statements to police, said he thought the man arguing with Boyd immediately before he went through the window was a big set Māori guy because of the guy's voice, not Revell. Revell's statements make no mention of anyone visiting him on the night of the incident. Police were unable to find anyone to corroborate any of the accounts from Revell, Salinger or Green. A detective's regret. In November 2008, Coroner Richard McElroy held an inquest into Sydney Boyd's death. The coroner asked Ruddock why police did not try to talk to Boyd in hospital prior to his death. He said, "I was always of the opinion that Sydney Boyd was going to get better. I probably should have gone to see him in ICU, but I didn't. I have to live with that." Ruddock told the inquest it was unlikely anyone would be charged over Boyd's death, which he did not believe was an accident. McElroy concluded that the evidence provided by Revell and Green was not reliable. He accepted, with some hesitation, that Salinger's version of events was true. The coroner said it was unlikely Revell retreated down the stairs after arguing with Boyd about the unplugged power cord. It was possible that a visitor to the complex, known to Revell and Green, was responsible for his ejection through the window. He said, "I find that Sydney Boyd was pushed, causing him to tumble down the stairs with such force that the reinforced glass was broken and he fell headfirst to the ground below. The question as to who pushed Sydney Boyd in this manner, resulting in injuries that led to his death, remains unsolved." Sydney Boyd's fatal fall never made big banner headlines. Almost nothing has been written about it for a decade. At the Riccarton Road complex where he lived, few residents know his name or anything about his death. Most of the people who knew him have either relocated or died. As memories of the incident have faded, so too have hopes of a resolution. Salinger suffered a fatal heart attack in October 2018, aged 56. His family has always believed he was not involved in Boyd's death and say the coroner's report exonerated him. Kyle Salinger says he believes his sibling, who was horrified about the whole bloody thing, was the victim of an unfortunate set of circumstances. He said, "I know that my brother wouldn't have done something like that. If anything, he was a peacemaker." Revell, who was a morphine user and suffered was found unresponsive in his flat at the Riccarton Road complex on April 9 last year. So it would have been 2019. He died the next day, aged 56. The pathologist concluded the cause of his death was multi-organ failure, a coroner's finding says. Those who knew Revel, who grew up in Linwood, a suburb of Christchurch, says he kept to himself in his latter years and rarely left home. The second youngest of 5 siblings, he was largely estranged from his family, including his 2 daughters, both of whom were removed from his care when they were young. Revel became addicted to painkillers after his leg was crushed in a car crash as a teenager. His older brother, who does not want to be identified, says he was never the same after that. That's what started his foray into the local underworld because he needed to source drugs. He lived in those seedy circles because he had to survive. Revel's brother, who had heard rumours of the incident involving Boyd, struggles to rationalise him as a killer. Standing about 1.8 metres tall, he was slim and wore a leg brace after the crash. He said although he lived an unfortunate life that had many bumps, he wasn't a thug. Exhausted efforts by staff to contact Green, who until very recently lived in a Housing New Zealand flat in Dunedin, were unsuccessful. The 66-year-old, who lives a transient lifestyle, has barely been in touch with his 3 siblings since their mother died about a decade ago. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, he has an eye condition which significantly impacts his sight, although I don't know that his diagnosis of schizophrenia has anything to do with the story at all. Wayne Green is adamant his older brother, whose life was marred by drug use, was not involved in Boyd's death. He did more harm to himself than others. He was actually a kind-hearted person. I believed him when he said he didn't see it happen because he was inside his flat. Canterbury District Crime Manager Detective Inspector Greg Morton says he's unable to talk about the case until the review he's commissioned has been completed. Carol Boyd Wilson, his sister, has a few physical memories of her brother, apart from a handful of photographs in an old family album. She's angry the identity of his killer remains unknown. It's unfair someone can do something so bad and get away with it. She is frustrated detectives didn't try to talk to her brother in hospital before his death. However, she's sceptical about whether he would have provided them with the information needed to solve the case. The 76-year-old believes her brother was confused during her interactions with him in hospital. When he pointed to room 43, she thinks he was indicating where he was going rather than revealing who attacked him. She says she formed the view that Revel pushed her brother through the window. She provides little foundation for that belief other than he was the one with the vicious and fighting personality and accepts it's likely she'll never have a definitive answer. The pensioner who lives in Wellington thinks about her brother often, particularly at family events, and what he's missed out on. She doesn't like to look at a bold portrait of him smiling through a long grey wispy beard. It's a painful reminder of his final days at the Riccarton Road complex. Instead, she thinks back to the young athletic teen whose life showed plenty of promise. She says he suffered a long and frightening death. It's sad that was how his life ended. Very sad case. I really feel for his family, and I don't know if there's much that we can do to help, but I want to try. So please share this.
So yeah, another sad case, and I don't know if this one could be solved because out of the 3 people, 2 of them are dead. So I don't know if there's any hope. Laurie Daybell cops it in 3 weeks. The countdown is on. Yes, so the Chad and Laurie Daybell, is it Chad and Laurie or just Laurie going up first, Will? I know that if you aren't living in the state of Idaho, you can't go in to the court, and they're not going to have cameras in the courtroom. They're just going to have audio. But we may get together and listen depending how it sounds and stuff like that and what I'm up to. So absolutely. Now I'm going to play just keep playing some more of our New Zealand unsolved cases. And if you need me to stop and pause and want to have a chat about something, just tell me. If you want to come on panel and chat with me up here, just let me know. I don't mind at all. Yeah, but if you've still got nothing to do, this next one's going to be different. This one here is about a French exchange student that came to New Zealand and went missing, a very young man. And these ones here are particularly hard with family overseas. He was from France and his parents didn't speak English, so that was pretty tough. I pronounced his name wrong throughout the whole thing until I found out how to pronounce it at the end, so that was a bit embarrassing. But, you know, it is what it is. I try my best, and these are quite old, but they're still relevant, as they're still not solved yet, I guess. No, that's not that one. Hang on a minute. Just let me figure it out, guys. Just let me figure it out. Well, that's it. We all know I'm not that greatest with the technical shit. Now, very quickly, before I press play, I'm going to boil my jug for my coffee, okay? So just hold on, guys. Hold on. A girl needs her coffee, right? I urge you to go and look on my community post and see the photo there that I've put down of the mountain of sleeping bags and bedding and roll, like those bed rolls and that I got donated today for my charity drive for the homeless this year. There's so much that half of it's stored in my car because I can't fit it in my house. My house is not that big. So it's amazing that I got like so much donated to me for the homeless, and I'm going to enjoy giving those out when the nights become a bit cooler. The only thing is some of them have been stored for quite a while and they smell a bit musty, so like up until winter I'm going to have to sort of just one by one give them a bit of a wash. I mean, some people would say they're just going to homeless people, you don't need to wash them, but I'm going to wash them. Okay, so we're going to put this one, his name is Ilwa. That's how you pronounce his name, Ilwa, and I just didn't pronounce it that way. Alright, let us see. Share screen. Here we go, folks.
In New Zealand have heard of this young man that's missing. He is a French national over here as an exchange student, and this is his missing poster. I'm going to go through it. Now, I can't say French or pronounce French names, and I am going to butcher his first name, but I'm just going to refer to him as Eloy, because it's the best I can do. So we'll go through Eloy Jean Roland, 18-year-old male. Last seen Saturday the 7th of March 2020 at the Britomart in the CBD by CCTV. So this is in Auckland. His last phone ping was a location in Piha Road, West Auckland. He's described as 170 centimetres tall, slim build, wearing blue jeans and a white jacket and light blue faded jeans, I should say, with black sneakers and black backpack as per the pic below. Also, Eloy speaks limited English. I'm going to have all the information on screen at the end, but if you have any information, call 098390697, or you can call Crime Stoppers 0800 555 111. So the first website we're going to go and have a look at is the rnz.co.nz, and this was on the 20th of March 2020. Search continues for French teen missing for 2 weeks. Search and rescue crews are scouring parts of Auckland's west coast for any sign of a French teenager who's been missing for almost 2 weeks. Eli Rowland, 18, hasn't been seen since the morning of Saturday, 7th of March, when he arrived at the Fruitvale Road train station from Britomart. Police have been trying to piece together his movements from there. Detective Senior Sergeant Callum McNeil said they believe Rowland walked from the train station to Piha. Through Eloy's mobile phone, we have identified that he was on Piha Road at 9:18 a.m. However, his movements after this time remain unknown. We are asking all residents on Piha Road to check their properties and sections for any items of interest. We are also urging anyone who has a holiday home or unoccupied home in that area to please check their properties for any signs that Eloy may have been present. And obviously here you can see a CCTV picture of him and what he was wearing that day. Search and rescue personnel have been conducting searches of the wider Piha area for several days, but no items of interest have been found so far. It's almost 2 weeks since Eloy was last seen, and police are doing everything we can to provide his family with the answers they desperately seek and hopefully locate Eloy safe and well, McNeil said. However, our concerns grow with each day that Eloy remains missing. Police said he speaks limited English. He is described as 170 centimetres tall with a thin build. He was last seen wearing a blue and white jacket, jeans and a dark sneakers. So that's him there. Next we're going to take a look at the police website, police.gov.nz, and it has information about contacting them and submitting information, which I will have at the end of the show. It says Eloy Rowland, date of birth 1st of October 2001, date of disappearance 6th of March 2020 from Birkenhead, Auckland, of course. Circumstances: Eloy is an exchange student from France. He was last seen on the 6th of March 2020. Police are appealing to the public for any sightings or information regarding him, and it's got all reference numbers and places where you can submit. Like I say, I'll have those at the end of the show. Next we're going to go to the nzherald.co.nz. French teenager Eloy Rowland missing in Auckland. Family stuck in France because of COVID-19. 3 weeks have passed, and with the world turned upside down, the family of a missing French teenager is hoping the power of social media will help find their son. Eloy Rowland has not been...
How unlucky to go missing during the pandemic. Of all times for this young man to go missing, it had to be then when his family was stuck overseas and couldn't get here. Just absolutely heartbreaking.
Seen or heard from since the morning of Saturday, March the 7th. Now, some articles are saying March the 6th and some are saying March the 7th. Cell phone data picked up later would place the 18-year-old in the area of Piha Road, about 10.4 kilometres away at 9:18 that same morning. Police believe he may have walked there. According to Google Maps, which I'll show you in a minute, it would take approximately 2 hours and 8 minutes to walk from the train station to the corner of Scenic Drive and Piha Road via the west coast. So one relative of Eloy's wrote a heartfelt message from over in France, obviously, of the worrisome disappearance of her young cousin. My cousin Eloy Rowland has been missing in Auckland, New Zealand for almost 3 weeks, and despite many intense research, we haven't found any trace of him since March the 6th. So I just want to give you a look at this. So obviously this is Newlyn and Fruitvale Road, and this is Scenic Drive where the last ping was. So they reckon he travelled all this way, or walked, and that's quite a wee way. So she acknowledged that given the current COVID-19 pandemic, family members could not travel to New Zealand to help with inquiries from the ground or simply visit the places their son and brother was last seen. In the middle of a health crisis, we can't go to the spot, so there's only social media left to help my family and the police, she said. And you'll find as we go further on that there's a lot on social media and a big push has been made on there. She says, thank you to all those who help us from near or far. In one way or another, I pray every day for you, Eloy, we will find you again. So remembering, Eloy had earlier caught a bus to downtown Auckland from the suburb of Birkenhead, North Shore, where he lives with his host family. He was then captured on CCTV at the Britomart train station, where he caught the train to Newlyn. This is the post on Facebook from his French family. Of course, it's completely in French, so there ain't no way I'm reading any of that. And a couple of photos of him there. The latest update from police is that despite the coronavirus situation, a number of officers are still working on the case to find him. Police have urged anyone who may have seen or spoken to Eloy that morning anywhere on his journey or may have information that would help authorities to come forward. He has limited English and is described, of course, as being 170 centimetres tall and thin build. So, of course, down here again, we've got some information places you can submit information, and I'll have that information at the end. Next, we're going to mindfood.com. This is April 23rd. Item of interest found in search for French teen missing in Auckland. A t-shirt was recovered from bush area in Kurikuri last week, with Sergeant Callum McNeil saying it is being forensically tested. Search and rescue personnel have returned to the area to see if there are any other items of interest. Roland's family in France have issued urgent pleas for help to find their son, with them being unable to travel to New Zealand amid the coronavirus pandemic. They have called for collaboration between the French police and the New Zealand police, and Roland's mother has also written to French President Emmanuel Macron. In a statement issued by New Zealand police on behalf of Roland's family, they said his disappearance is, quote, very out of character. They said he was due to fly back to France 2 weeks after he went missing, as he was feeling homesick. Eloy is a calm, kind and curious teenager who loves adventures and enjoys being with friends. He loves the sea, surf and catamarans, read the statement. He also enjoys the beauty of the wilderness and recently found a particular interest in hiking. Eloy had come to New Zealand to study English 6 months ago and was in regular contact with his family several times a week. His disappearance is very out of character and we are extremely worried. He has never run away from home and always stayed in contact.
Now, one of the weird things about this Piha area where he went missing is that this has actually been the scene of 4 people going missing in the last so many years that I know of, and I think I've done a mysteries at Piha. We'll have to have a look at, but very weird that it's quite a popular place for people to go missing. Even the UK doctor that went missing not long ago went missing near there. I think I have to check on that, but yeah, really weird.
With his family, so this must be extremely hard for his family, being stuck there and not being able to do anything or come over and help search for their boy or anything. It's just heartbreaking. We're going to tvnz.co.nz, and this was Friday, May the 8th. Police say t-shirt found in search for missing French teen was not his. So police have confirmed that a t-shirt found in bushland west of Auckland last month does not belong to missing French teen Eloy Roland. It comes as police search and rescue Personnel continue to search the Waitakere Ranges in an effort to locate the 18-year-old. Police say despite countless searches and numerous public appeals for information, there has been no confirmed sightings of him. A local resident has today come forward and claimed ownership of a t-shirt they had taken off during a bushwalk at Kalikali, which was potentially thought to be Eloy's at the time. Search and rescue staff have now covered the majority of tracks within the Waitakere Ranges, including all open tracks and roadways. Police are aware that public searches have been taking place in these same areas and are planned again for the weekend, but police say they appreciate the concern and good intentions. However, under the current Alert Level 3 restrictions from COVID-19, people are asked to only search their sections. And of course, Eloy's family have been unable to travel to New Zealand because of border closures. Next, we're going to nzherald.co.nz. This was on the 4th of May. Family of French teen Eloy Roland missing in Auckland since March reveal more, and we actually hear some worrying information. The family of a French teenager who mysteriously disappeared in Piha 2 months ago say he was likely going to collect the area's famed black sand to take home to show them, but they say he was also lonely and quite disturbed before he went missing and had suffered several sentimental setbacks during his time in New Zealand.
So this is really the first time that we're hearing that he was in a bad place mentally. Whether that played any part into his disappearance, we're never going to know, I guess, but now we've got that information to think about.
It says he was staying with the host family in Birkenhead on the North Shore and was reported missing after he failed to return home on March the 6th. Today the Herald spoke to Roland's sister, and I'm not going to say her name because there's just no way I'll pronounce that, who said he was in regular contact with her and the rest of the family. They spoke or messaged several times a week. She said he was determined to want to return to France as quickly as possible, explaining to everyone that he was homesick. I told him of my surprise at his premature return, which seemed to be very abnormally hasty. Roland's return ticket was scheduled for late May, but he was set to head back to southern France on May the 21st. Of course, then this COVID-19 pandemic happened and our borders got closed, just adding to his plight. She said he assured me that he wanted to see his missing friends again, that he felt too lonely and that he preferred to return as soon as possible to prepare for a test in view of joining the Air Force. If he failed, he planned to continue his studies in a preparatory class in Toulouse. She said her brother had suffered several sentimental disappointments, but seemed to be resilient when they last spoke. He wanted to move on and accept things as they were. He had positive thoughts. He really looked forward to coming back. He expressed the desire to return to France as quickly as possible, justifying this by a heavy loneliness and projects to be carried out. She said her family had spent endless hours speculating about what may have happened to him, but they really had no idea. She says, we were not by his side in New Zealand. We only knew what he wanted to tell us, both about his schedule and his friends, his outings, his activities, his mood. Personally, I found him quite disturbed in the last months preceding his disappearance. I had questioned him at length on this subject, and yet he kept assuring me that everything was fine and that there was no reason to worry. Roland's family wanted to come to New Zealand and look for him themselves, but the global COVID-19 pandemic and travel restrictions meant that it was not possible. His sister said she felt impotence at not being able to actively participate in the investigation. She says it's very difficult for all of us, especially my parents, and I just can't imagine what they're going through. Leaving your child alone and as far away as Auckland is not trivial, and they had thought about it a long time before agreeing to support Eloy in this project, which was dear to their heart. They were afraid for him, like any parent, for fear that misfortune could happen to their child. That's a cool picture. She said everything about the trip was well organised, and her parents regularly sent money and were vigilant from afar to make sure he lacked for nothing. Her parents had been in contact with the host family, who reported Roland missing very quickly. No one knew where Roland had been on the night before or who he was with. He had talked about going to Piha on foot to fetch and bring back sand from New Zealand as a souvenir of his trip. He had informed our parents of his intention to go there on foot in the morning and also to return on foot in the afternoon, but without specifying the date on which he planned to make this excursion. His main reason for being here was to learn English, but he also worked part-time in a restaurant and then in a hotel. His sisters keep saying he participated in organised evenings when the opportunity arose for fun, but also in search of love, she said. Since January, he expressed an interest first of all in psychology, then he became very suddenly and strongly interested in the environmental cause. And he also found a recent attraction for hiking, it seems. Just sounds like a typical teenager that flip-flops from, things they're interested in and finds new things they're interested in. She said he sometimes spoke to me about Piha, saying it was a wonderful place. He even wanted to bring us to New Zealand just so we could see the beauty of his beach. She said he was calm and a kind teenager who was a bit dreamy and sometimes naive. He is passionate about sailing, especially catamaran. He likes travelling, she said. We thank all the efforts undertaken to find Eloy, and we are grateful for the responsiveness, the benevolence of the police of New Zealand and all the inhabitants. She said Roland has two Facebook pages, which he regularly updated until March the 6th, when he made his last post, which was just an image of a black square. Something else that teenagers do, weird stuff on Facebook that makes no sense to everybody else. Detective Senior Sergeant Callum McNeil said police were keeping an open mind around what has happened to Roland, but as each day passes, the chances of finding Eloy alive and well are sadly becoming more slim, he said. This has been an incredibly difficult time for his family in France, and we are supporting them as best we can. We continue to do everything we can to find Eloy and provide his family with answers to the questions they desperately seek. Next, there was a press release from the New Zealand Police on Friday, the 8th of May 2020, so a few days ago, and I'm getting this from scoop.co.nz. Police continue search for missing teen Eloy Roland, and they have a message to the community. Detective Senior Sergeant Callum McNeil from the Waitemata Police. Police search and rescue personnel continue to search the Waitakere Ranges as efforts continue to locate missing French teen Eloy Roland. Despite countless searches and numerous public appeals for information, unfortunately, there has been no confirmed sightings of him since then. Despite being 2 months since Eloy was last seen, police search and rescue efforts are still continuing, and more than 1,600 hours of searching has been carried out to date. Search and rescue staff have now covered the majority of tracks within the Waitakere Ranges, including all open tracks and roadways. Police are aware that civilian searches have also been taking place in these areas. Police appreciate the concern and good intentions shown by those in the community who have been searching for him. However, under the Alert Level 3 restrictions, they ask that local residents search only in their own sections and stick to their bubbles. All open tracks and roadways that are open to the public, which have been the areas of focus in the public searches, have already been covered by police search and rescue. There are a number of restrictions currently in place in the Waitakere Ranges, including a large number of walking tracks that are closed, with off-track activity also not permitted due to Kari dieback. These areas can only be searched by police search and rescue teams. Due to these restrictions, police do not want to risk members of the public getting lost and subsequently putting themselves at risk of needing to be rescued, and we would appreciate if the search is left to the highly trained specialist search staff. Now, the final place I want to show you is the Facebook page called Missing Eloy Jean Rowland, and this was put together by a lady called Silla Tokara. Now, this woman who didn't know Eloy from a Baraso at all, but a mum, and could feel the pain of his family stuck in France and not being able to come over and find him, and how traumatising that must be, took it upon herself to create this page, and it is thousands of subscribers or followers. She has also planned numerous and undertaken numerous searches for Eloy. She has put together posters. I know she's just done an amazing job, and hats off to her, because she really has undertaken this without, she's just amazing. I wanted to share one of her posts on the 9th of May. Evening everyone, in regards to calling off the public search today and tomorrow, this wasn't an easy decision to make. The police did not ask me to call it off, but however they did remind me to evaluate the safety of others that I'd be putting at risk when out searching. So if you think I've given up on finding Eloy, I haven't. I was out there today just with a smaller team, and I'll continue to search for him. In regards to the police and what they're doing, I can assure you that they've been out there with their search and rescue teams and currently are still out there looking for him. When I made this page, most of you probably didn't even know this kid was missing. Eloy's disappearance has impacted my life and as well as others. Tomorrow, which will be Mother's Day, is definitely going to be a real tough day for me, because I feel like Eloy has become a part of my family, and to know that he is out there somewhere, it breaks my heart big time. Eloy's family requested me to spend some time with my family this weekend, due to it being Mother's Day tomorrow. They've also thanked me for helping spread the word through numerous Facebook ads and for creating this page. So you all have been absolutely amazing for helping me spread word, and I thank you for that. So as you celebrate your Mother's Day with your family and children tomorrow, I ask you to keep Eloy's mother in your thoughts and the rest of their family in your prayers. I wish you all a wonderful Mother's Day tomorrow. May your day be blessed with love, laughter, being surrounded by your loved ones.
Yeah, it's amazing that someone who didn't even know him went out, out of a way to search for him, to put together searches, to do all the social media stuff, the Facebook and stuff, and it really took a toll on her. But it just sort of shows you, I guess, how cool New Zealanders can be, or people can be in general, being a student here, and his family weren't represented because they couldn't come over because of the damn thing. Yeah. So I'm just going to line up the next one. All right, if at any stage you guys want to chat about anything, or you want to come up on the panel and chat or anything like that, just let me know and I'll stop. But if no one's around, or not many people are in here, and you just want to watch videos, we'll just do that, because these need solving, right? The more people that see them, the better. You just never know. And most of these in New Zealand, because most of the rest of the world should be asleep by now. So that's why we're concentrating on New Zealand. This here was one of the saddest ones I've had to do. This was a well-known case in New Zealand.
As New Zealanders woke up on New Year's Day 1999, there were many nursing hangovers, many facing regrets about New Year's resolutions made the night before. But for one family in Ashburton, this day was the beginning of a nightmare which had started the evening before. Kirsty Bentley, a 15-year-old from Ashburton, had not returned home from taking her dog Abby for a walk the previous afternoon. Her mother Jill would look for her daughter that night, including a look down by the Ashburton River, with no success. On January 1st, New Year's Day, at 8 a.m, an official search and rescue operation began. Friends, family and police searched for the missing teenager. At 10 a.m, Kirsty's dog Abby was found, tied to a tree in dense scrub beside the Ashburton River, close to Rebellion Park. Underwear and a pair of boxers were also found nearby. Searches continued and the media storm began. Kirsty's story was all over the news. On January the 17th, 1999, two men that were searching for cannabis plants came across Kirsty's body near Camp Gully Creek, off Scenic Highway 72, approximately 40 to 50 kilometres from Ashburton. Welcome to New Zealand Mysteries, I'm TJ. Today we are talking about the unsolved murder of Ashburton teenager Kirsty Bentley. New Zealand Mysteries is about giving a voice to those who have been silenced. We are on Facebook and YouTube, just search for New Zealand Mysteries. Most times when I release a story, I will pay to promote their story on Facebook, just so they can get as much reach as possible. The hope is that the right person or people might see the story, might rattle horses. Coffee.com. Or if you know anything about Kirsty's case or any other cases that I feature, please call Crime Stoppers anonymously 0800 555 111, or you can go to crimestoppersnz.org. All this information will also be in the description box. Kirsty Marianne Bentley was born on the 18th of January 1983. She was the second child of her parents Jill and Sydney Bentley, and she had an older brother John. Kirsty grew up in Ashburton, and as a teenager she attended Ashburton College and was well liked by her peers. Kirsty's mum Jill described her as being an honest and compassionate teenager. Kirsty could be confident and direct with people she knew, but she could also be shy and reserved with people she didn't know. Kirsty had a close-knit group of friends. At the time of her murder, she had just begun dating a local boy from her school. Ashburton is a large town in the Canterbury region. It sits on the east coast of the South Island of New Zealand. It is 85 kilometres from Christchurch, southwest of Christchurch. The Ashburton Township has approximately 20,000 people, and there's another approximately 16,000 living in the wider district. On the day Kirsty disappeared, 31st of December 98, Kirsty went to the Ashburton Library and met up with a friend at about 10:30 a.m. The two girls done some shopping and then went to the local McDonald's for lunch, which was around midday. Kirsty was excited that day. Her boyfriend was coming over for dinner. Her mother Jill remembered the last time she'd seen her earlier that day as being happy and excited, and there was no sign of anything being wrong. Her friend's sister dropped Kirsty at her home around 2:30 p.m. Kirsty's brother John was home when she arrived, and he let her know that her boyfriend had rung and left a message for her. Kirsty returned his call, but he was not there, so she left a message for him to call her back. Records show that Kirsty made this call to her boyfriend at 2:38 p.m. Kirsty decided to take her dog Abby, a black lab, for a walk. This was something she did regularly, so was not out of character for her. Her brother John either did or didn't hear his sister leave, depends on what article you read, but we do know that a neighbour witnessed Kirsty walking Abby past his house at 3:05 p.m. Kirsty's boyfriend called her back at 4:30 p.m. John was still at home, listening to music in his bedroom. He said that he kind of remembered thinking that Kirsty had been gone for a while, but not worrying about it too much. Kirsty's mum Jill returned home after work around 5:15 p.m. and John informed his mum that Kirsty had not returned home from her walk. Jill immediately felt something was wrong. Over the previous few months, she'd felt an unexplained dread that somehow my little girl was at risk. Jill called Kirsty's boyfriend back to check if he had seen Kirsty, but he told her that he hadn't. Jill noticed Abby's dog lead was missing from the stall by the back door where Kirsty usually dropped it. Jill immediately walked the route that she thought Kirsty would have taken while walking Abby to the Ashburton River. Not seeing Kirsty or Abby, she returned home. Both John and Jill agreed to wait a little longer to see if Kirsty would return home. Just after 6 p.m, Kirsty's father Sid arrived home from work, and when he heard about Kirsty not returning home, he called police. Kirsty had left home only wearing light clothes, a black tank top, a sarong with white butterfly patterned on it, and black shoes with white soles. Police, family members and friends searched for Kirsty throughout the night, but could not find any sign of Kirsty or her dog Abby. At 8 a.m. the next morning, the 1st of January, the official search and rescue operation began. At 10 a.m, searchers found Abby, the family dog. Abby was tied to a tree in a patch of dense scrub beside the Ashburton River, close to Rebellion Park. Searchers had been looking in that general area the previous night, but the dog was not found. They thought maybe someone had placed the dog there overnight, or because of the dense foliage in the area, it was possible that Abby was missed. Abby was tied to a tree with a lead. Strangely, Kirsty's family believed that it wasn't the lead that they had used to walk Abby. It didn't belong to the family. Not far away from where Abby was found tied to a tree, 2 items of clothing were found. A pair of underwear and a pair of boxers that were later confirmed to belong to Kirsty. Over the next 16 days, police and volunteers, including troops from the New Zealand Army, who were sent from the military camp Burnham, located in the region, searched the Ashburton area for Kirsty. Initially, the search focused in and around the Ashburton township, but the searchers expanded their detailed search to include a much larger area of Canterbury. On January 17th, 2 men were in the Camp Gully area of Rakaia, about 50 kilometres away from Ashburton, looking for cannabis plots. The 2 men came across a badly decomposed body lying in a patch of overgrown scrub. The body was lying at the bottom of a steep embankment, and it was covered in a thin layer of branches and leaves. The body was fully clothed except for underwear and was placed in a fetal position. The clothing found was with the body matched the clothing that Kirsty Bentley was reported to be wearing the day she went missing. The His body was recovered one day before Kirsty's 16th birthday. Police closed the scene and ordered a no-fly zone over the area as they conducted their investigation. They conducted an extensive scene examination over several days and even took plaster casts of tyre tracks in the area. In New Zealand at that time, it was the middle of summer. This meant that Kirsty's body was in an advanced state of decomposition. Her body was recovered from the scene and transported to Christchurch Hospital for a post-mortem. 3 days later, the body was formally identified through dental records as that of Kirsty Bentley. The post-mortem revealed that Kirsty was killed by blunt force trauma to the right side of the back of her head. The blow or blows were inflicted with enough force to severely fracture her skull. The pathologist determined that she would have died shortly after the wound was inflicted. The pathologist believed that Kirsty was killed soon after she went missing, and that it was likely she was placed in the Camp Gully area the same night. He made these findings from an examination of her stomach contents and the state of her body. Initially, police withheld her cause of death from the public. The story became one of the most high-profile cases in New Zealand history. Who Killed Kirsty became the story that everybody was talking about. This didn't happen in New Zealand or Little Ashburton, and it was enough to dominate front pages for weeks. On January 25th, 1999, a funeral was held for Kirsty at St Stephen's Anglican Church in Ashburton, and between 500 and 700 people attended. Police stated that at times hundreds of individuals had been considered as suspects in Kirsty's disappearance, and at other times the list of suspects had been as small as 20 people. There were unconfirmed sightings that had Kirsty walking with 2 men near the river, but that sighting was never confirmed. Other witnesses later told of seeing a car with a blonde girl cowering in the front seat, while other sightings were apparently ignored by police. Media reported early in the investigation that Kirsty's father Sid and her brother John were suspects in the case. Both men continuously denied their involvement in Kirsty's disappearance and death. However, John did acknowledge that it was common sense that police should consider those close to Kirsty to be suspects, and police did confirm that the 2 men were suspects in the investigation. Police conducted a scene examination of the Bentley's home. Police conducted a scene examination of the Bentley's home at South Street in the early stages of the investigation, but found nothing of value. Sid was unable to provide a strong alibi for that day. The family believed that whatever Sid had got up to that day, he was embarrassed to admit it. But they did not believe that he was involved in the murder of his daughter. The constant police attention on the family was difficult. At one stage their house was bugged and Sid and John were being watched by police. No evidence was ever found that suggested that Sid or John were involved. A $50,000 reward offered in the months after Kirsty's death was withdrawn a year later after failing to bring any new information. Police asked the public for information about a green Commer van, registration EP9888. The van was described as a 1961 model that had been set up as a camper. The van had a distinctive Commer badge attached to the front. At the time, the van was not registered. The van was either blue or a faded blue-green. The van was rare, so police were confident that they would find it with the public's help. The van was originally brought to the attention of the police by a mechanic who had seen it in the area around the time of Kirsty's disappearance. Because the van was so distinctive, he was able to recall detailed information. The van was also seen by other witnesses in the Ashburton area in the weeks prior to Kirsty's disappearance. Police also received reports of it being seen in the Camp Gully area. Many people reported seeing the van to police, but all the sightings were discounted. No further leads on the camper were ever revealed, and it has never been found. Police distributed flyers asking for information on a girl who was seen near the van on Chalmers Avenue, which was close to where Kirsty disappeared. But despite repeated public requests by police, this girl never came forward, and her identity and her connection to the suspicious van remain a mystery to this day. In 2010, a British criminal profiler called Chuck Burton came to New Zealand to offer his expertise on the case. He claimed the riverbank was not where Kirsty was killed. He says her body was left in a respectful way, suggesting her body was dumped by someone who knew her, and they most likely knew the area well, suggesting it was someone local. His interpretation of the way Kirsty had been found, he was convinced the killer had some kind of link with Kirsty because of the way her body had been arranged. He said that she had been carried through thick thorn and placed on the ground, not thrown down a bank, and her body was placed in the fetal position. Her clothes had been laid on top of her body, respectfully covering her. He told this to Sunday program. So that's a bit different from her being fully clothed. At the time, police confirmed the list of suspects had been narrowed to about 20 people, and it still included Kirsty's father Sid and brother John. Both have admitted publicly that they were being treated as suspects, but had always denied any involvement in Kirsty's murder. In May 2014, Sid Bentley, 63 at the time, was still living in Ashburton, and he said it was his dying wish to see his daughter's killers caught. He had cancer and other health problems and was unsure how long he had left. Sid and Jill had divorced by this time. In 2015, Kirsty's father Sid died of cancer, never knowing what happened to his daughter. Kirsty's ashes were buried in the back garden of the Ashburton home by her dad. After his death, they were reunited with her mother, Jill. In 2015, her brother John said he was concerned that because some believed his father was involved, people may not now bother to come forward with new information. He worried that if the public thinks that whoever done it was gone, that they might stop caring about the case and the truth might never come out. He said that although he had no proof, he did not see how his father could have been involved in his sister's murder. After Sid's death in 2015, there was some renewed public interest in the case. It's reported that an unidentified woman had come forward to say that she expected her ex-boyfriend had been involved in the murder. The woman said she would now change her statement if asked by police. The Christchurch woman could not be identified for legal reasons, but said she and her ex-partner were interviewed several times following Kirsty's death, and her partner's vehicle had been of interest to the police at the time. The man had been a suspect in the original investigation, and both him and his girlfriend had been interviewed by police and media at the time. According to an interview with the woman, she stated that her ex-boyfriend, while intoxicated, had admitted his involvement to her on several occasions. Police would not comment on the woman's claim other than to say that the man in question had been fully investigated. After Kirsty's body was found, the woman and her ex-partner moved out of the area. At the time, police confirmed that they had taken a DNA sample from his vehicle for testing. On July 15, 2016, a coroner's inquest began. The role of the coroner is to determine the cause of death, time, date, and how someone died. There were many reasons a coroner would consider investigating a cold case, and one of those was to bring closure for a family. The coroner questioned the latest detective on Kirsty's case about the investigation. He asked the police investigator, "Where do police believe Kirsty died?" The detective replied, We can't be 100% sure where the fatal blow was inflicted. He told the court that over the past 17 years, hundreds of people had been interviewed. There had been 140 people of interest, but not all of those had been eliminated. And he told the coroner that the homicide inquiry was still active. Coroner Peter Ryan ruled that Kirsty Bentley died on December the 31st, 1998, at an unknown location from a massive blow to the head. He was satisfied the injuries were not the result of an accident. He extended his condolences to Kirsty's family for their loss and the horrific way that she died. He said it was particularly hard that the perpetrator hadn't been brought to justice, but commended the police on persevering with the investigation. In 2017, police revealed that they were investigating a man called Russell John Tully in relation to Kirsty's disappearance. Tully was a local man who murdered 2 staff members at the Ashburton Work and Income Office in 2014. Tully had been known to camp in the area where Kirsty went missing. Tully strongly denied any involvement, and in 2018, police confirmed that he was not in the area at the time and was not involved. In late 2018, almost 20 years after Kirsty's disappearance, police announced that there had been significant advances in DNA testing. Items of evidence, including the dog lead and the underwear, had been submitted for further testing, and they hoped this would lead to a break in the case. I could not find any information about the results of these tests at all. In 2018, police confirmed that Kirsty's father Sid and her brother John were not involved in the crime. Well, they didn't believe that they were involved in the crime. Kirsty's big brother John now lives in Australia. Jill lives in Invercargill with her second husband. She doesn't have any theories on what happened to her daughter, and having no answers or any clues, she said, had been one of the toughest things to handle. She said, "But I think of the happy memories, not the day she died. I've been through some very black years of grieving and don't wish to return to that. Now, if Kirsty's name is mentioned, I smile. She's the Kirsty I remember." In 2001, a book was released. It is called Kirsty, Her Mother Writes with Love. It's written by Jill Bentley, her mum, and with author Tony Williams, and tells the story of her 15-year-old daughter's life and death, the police investigation into her murder, and the terrible aftermath experienced by her family. I was able to put together Kirsty's story because of the extensive media coverage at the time. Despite this, in 2020, here we are, and the sick person or persons who took Kirsty that day and murdered her have not been found. This family deserves some answers, finally. You know, it must have been hell for the family living under a cloud of suspicion all that time in such a small town. And it was awful that her father Sid had to die without ever knowing what happened to his daughter. Please share this story as much as you can and as far as you can, and I'll do my part too. Thank you very much for spending this time with me. I hope to see you again. I'm out.
We really want to do the right thing by David and by David's family. I think his family's owed the right to know why this is all taking place. We're really strongly focused on making sure that we get results for them.
We'll view the rest of that video shortly, but let's get some information. We're looking into the unsolved murder of David Walewili Kuka, a case of mistaken identity, it is thought. Quickly, before we get into it, welcome to New Zealand Mysteries. I'm TJ. In the description box below is all the information that you need. It is links to our Facebook page and our website, podcast. But just before we go, I just want to say that I genuinely, if you are not from New Zealand, I want to genuinely apologise for my pronunciation of his name. I know that it's not great. Let's first just go to the police website and read what they put out. Police tribute to Detective Inspector Lou Warner. Bay of Plenty Police are appealing for information in relation to the ongoing investigation into the death of David Kuka in Gate Pa, Tauranga in February 2018. Following extensive inquiries, police now say that we believe the murder was a case of mistaken identity, and 52-year-old Mr. Kuka was not believed to be the intended victim. Mr. Kuka lived at the Willrose Place address where he was located seriously injured on the 11th of February. He died at the scene shortly after emergency services arrived. We know that he mainly kept to himself, working at a shop on occasion and carving items for family and friends. Sadly, Mr. Kuka was shot execution style, and we believe this was premeditated and cowardly. I believe that the community can help us get answers for Mr. Kuka's family. Someone will know something and can help us bring his family some sense of closure. Police are now interested in a silver vehicle seen near the scene at the relevant time, and we will look at those photos shortly. The investigation team would like to speak to anyone who recognises the vehicle in the images attached. And of course, here's some information about where you can submit anything you know or who to call. And I'll have that at the end of the show when we go over some keynotes and in the description box below as well. We are only going to look at a couple of articles because that's genuinely all there was. But we're going to stuff.co.nz. Execution style killing of devout Christian may be connected to gang murder 5 weeks earlier. Here is one of those pictures of the car that they were looking for, a silver Ford Falcon with a red bonnet. A devout Christian was killed execution style in Tauranga, and the attack was likely linked to a gang shooting in the same location 5 weeks earlier, police say. David Kuka died soon after being found seriously injured in Willrose Place, Gate Pa, on the evening of February 11, 2018. Police say the 52-year-old was shot execution style, and it appears to be a case of mistaken identity. Here is another view of that car. We believe this murder is most likely connected to the death of Mungle Mob Notorious Life member Lance Waite, who was shot at the same location 5 weeks prior to Mr. Kuka's death. A statement from Tauranga CIB Detective Sergeant Paul Baring said. Waite, 58, was dropped at Tauranga Hospital with critical injuries on January 3rd and died a few hours later. Police said at the time Waite had been at a Willrose Place property before he was dropped off. Speaking on Police 10-7, Barron said that while Kuka lived very near the location of Waite's killing, he played no part. We are keeping an open mind, he said. So this is Willrose Place, where both the murders happened in Tauranga, so you can get a bit of a feel. There is just a lot of businesses around here. Police are aware that Mr. Kuka was previously gang affiliated, but that was many years ago, Barron said. At the time of his death, Mr. Kuka was a devout Christian and mainly kept to himself. Kuka looked out for his whānau and friends, Barron said, and was a talented carver and craftsman whose work can be seen on display in Tauranga. He was home alone on the night of his death, and police believe he was killed in a premeditated and cowardly attack. Emergency services were called to the scene when he was found seriously injured around 10:25 p.m, but he died soon after they arrived. Police previously asked for information about a silver sedan seen in the Greerton area and coming and going from Welcome Bay on the night of Kuka's death. They are still interested in hearing from anyone with information, Barron said. Police were also interested in a silver Ford Falcon with a red bonnet. This car was seen in and around the Tauranga area in the late afternoon and early evening of February 11th. We are really interested in hearing from anyone who may have heard or seen anyone involved with these vehicles. Police think the community can help his whānau get answers. Someone will know something and can help us bring his family some sense of closure in solving this crime, Barron said. And I believe that too. Somebody knows something. So we're going to rattle some bones and try and shake out some information. Now we're going to look at this article from nzherald.co.nz, and it gives a lot more information about the kind of person David was. Tall and ringy with long dark hair, the 52-year-old was a well-known figure in downtown Tauranga, where he'd walk down the street with his fist raised to the sky, pointing to heaven. Wearing a leather vest with a cross on the back, Kuka would spend his weekend nights busking with his guitar and singing about his saviour. His daughter said Dad was very loud and a proud Christian. He really cared about other people. People would remember him if they stopped to think. We miss him heaps. 12 months have passed since David Kuka's voice was silenced. Tonight his family plan to hold a candlelit vigil outside the Willrose Place address where he died to mark the first anniversary of his death. Kuka was last seen playing his guitar at the commercial building, which he used as a workshop for his wood carving. Examples of Kuka's work with master carver James Tapiata are dotted around Tauranga. He helped on the Matariki carvings on the Strand, as well as the whare at Tauranga Boys College and overseas. Again, a photo of David. And that's of course him with his fist up to the sky. His daughter said he loved telling stories through carving. He was very talented and loved working with his hands. Of Ngāti Rangi and Ngāti Porou descent, her father was one of 10 siblings raised on Matakana Island and then in Greaton. She said, or it was said, tall and physically imposing, Kuka was a keen rugby player during his school years at Tauranga Boys, but loved music most of all. His daughter said he was a gentle giant. One particular story of his compassionate nature emerged only after his death. About 6 months earlier, David Kuka saw a young man stumbling along the street in the Tauranga CBD one evening. He had been assaulted and Kuka wrapped his own bandanas around the youth's head to stop the bleeding while calling 111 for help. Kuka waited with the young man and called his mother to reassure her before quietly slipping away when the ambulance arrived. And that's an awesome story. What a good dude. The young man's family never had a chance to thank the Good Samaritan until the mother saw David Kuka waiting to be embalmed in the funeral home where she worked. Yeah, what a story. This here is one of the beautiful carvings by David. Absolutely amazing. We had no idea Dad helped that boy. He was so humble. We didn't know until the mother saw him in the funeral home. It was amazing. He really cared about people. Speaking on behalf of the Kuka whānau for the first time since her father's death, his daughter wanted the public to know her father had nothing to do with drugs or gangs anymore. She said he had completely turned his life around. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Her assessment is shared by the head of Police Inquiry, Detective Inspector Lou Warner. A dozen officers are still working on the investigation, and Warner said police have found no reason for anyone to target David, a religious man who actually told off his neighbours for swearing. If he was not my neighbour, I'd be getting told off all the time. Police said there's nothing we can find that would be a reason team is whether Kuka was mistaken for someone else in connection to a fatal shooting at the same Willrose Place address in January 2018. Lance Waite, 58-year-old Mangum Mob member, later died from his injuries in Tauranga Hospital. A 27-year-old man has pleaded not guilty to murdering Waite and is scheduled to stand trial in May. 12 months later, Warner says police cannot rule out a link between the violent deaths of Waite and Kuka. We're still investigating that scenario as well as many others. A silver sedan captured in security camera footage is still considered important to the inquiry. Warner revealed new information about the car. The vehicle had been seen in the Welcome Bay area before and after the fatal shooting of Kuka, shortly before 10 p.m. on 11th of February 2018. He urged anyone who recognised the car or had other information to come forward and help give closure to David's family. We really want to do the right thing by David and his family, said Warner. I think his family is owed the right to know this has all taken place or why it's taken place. We're really strongly focused on getting a result for them, and in a moment I will have some key points and the numbers where you can go if you know anything about this case.
February 11th, 2018, police were called to the address in Willrose Place where we located David within those premises. It's obvious that he'd been murdered. It is a straight-out execution. I don't want to go into detail of those because it couldn't have a future court case, but it's obvious to us that David was executed. Our inquiries, which have been extensive, we've found no evidence as to why anyone would want to kill David. We certainly established that he'd become quite a religious man to the extent that the neighbouring properties, if they swore, they would get something off from him. He was a master carver. He pretty much stuck to himself and his family, and there's just nothing that we can find that would be a reason for anyone to murder him.
The police believe David Kuka was the victim of mistaken identity. They are investigating whether his murder is linked to the death of Lance Waite, a Mangum member who was fatally shot at the same address a few weeks earlier. A silver sedan seen near the crime scene in Gate Park is a key focus of the murder inquiry.
We've now established that car before the homicide has gone into the Wilton Bay area. It's then coming out of the Wilton Bay area, gone to the area where our offences occurred, and then later gone back into the Wilton Bay area. So we're very interested in where that vehicle's been within Wilton Bay, if not other areas as well.
And the reporter that you can hear in that clip is Jared Savage from the NZ Herald. So let's go over the key points. This is David Kuka. The body of David, 52, was found at a Willrose Place address after emergency services were called about 10:40 p.m. on the 11th of February 2018. David had suffered a serious head injury and was pronounced dead at 11:15 p.m. Mr. Kuka lived at the Willrose Place address where he was located. David was a devout Christian and he was shot execution style. Police confirm it is the same address where a Mangum Mob member, Lance Waite, was injured on January the 3rd that year before dying in Tauranga Hospital, and they think the attack was likely linked to the gang shooting in the same location 5 weeks earlier. Police said that while Kuka lived very near the location of Waite's killing, he played no part. It appears to be a case of mistaken identity. Police are interested in a silver vehicle seen near the scene at the relevant time that travelled into the Welcome Bay area before and after the time David was shot. They are also interested in a silver Ford with a red bonnet. So let's take a moment to look at these photos, and of course I will have the links below and have these on my website so you can take another look at them if you need to. Police still want to speak to anyone who was in the Courtney Road, Willrose Place, Fraser Street areas between 9 p.m. and midnight on Sunday night, the 11th of February 2018. People with information can ring Tauranga Police on 07577 4300 or call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. You can also visit Crime Stoppers online. That's crimesstoppers-nz.org. I want to thank you for hanging out with me and taking a moment to listen to David's story. I know it's not a long one, but there's literally not much about him to look at, which is quite sad. But the reason I do this is because I want to give a voice to those who don't have one or didn't get one at the time. So, see you next time. Thanks heaps. If you know anything, do the right thing. I'm out.
Back in 1981, I had the American dream, the beautiful wife, the house in the suburbs, and a beautiful 6-year-old son. And one day I went to work, kissed my son goodbye, never saw him again. In 2 weeks I became the parent of a murdered child, and I'll always be the parent of a murdered child. I still have the heartache, I still have the rage. I waited years for justice. I know what it's like to be there waiting for some answers. And over those years I learned how to do one thing really well, and that's how to catch these bastards and bring them back to justice. I become a manhunter. I'm out there looking for bad guys.
Hi guys, welcome back to New Zealand Mysteries. This is TJ. I am betting that some of you know the guy in that video. That is John Walsh. His face and voice are quite recognisable around the world. He was the host of America's Most Wanted for many years. That was a clip from his show On the Hunt with John Walsh, and I know he has gone on to do another program or two. I think that some of you know that he had a son that was murdered, obviously, but I don't know if any of you know the story of what happened to his son Adam Walsh. So that's the story we're going to look into today. Before we get started, if you want to have a look at our Facebook page and our website, there is links below in the description box. You will find links to all sorts in there, all the sources that we've used, and also my email. It would be nice if you could support the channel. If you like, press like, and if you dislike, I guess. But it would be great if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get notified when we drop some new stories. I would like to apologise for the quality of the video and audio, and myself really. I'm still figuring out how this works, and I'm pretty new, and I don't have the best equipment, so I'm just working with what I got. If you'd like to support the channel and donate, there is also links in the description box below to buymeacoffee.com, which you can for $3. I love my coffee. And also to patreon.com. Let's get going. So this is a picture of the gorgeous 6.5-year-old boy that went missing, Adam Walsh. It's a gorgeous picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a sort of overview of the case, and then I've got a couple of clips to show as well. But for some background, on the afternoon of 27th July 1981, Adam's mother, Reve, took him shopping with her to the Hollywood Mall in Hollywood, Florida. Hollywood is a city in Broward County, Florida, between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Now, Reve and Adam went together to the department store Sears, which is quite popular in America. We don't have here in New Zealand. Reve intended to inquire about a lamp which was on sale, and when they got into the department store, going past the toy section. Never do that with kids. There was a group of boys playing and watching this new thing out called an Atari 2600, and they were playing it on a TV. Now, back in 1981, this was huge. Video games had just come out, and it was mesmerising for kids, and it was exciting, and yeah, you can imagine. Computer games were just all the rage. Adam begged his mum to let him stay and watch these boys play the game, and I can remember the exact same thing with my kids. We've been in the store, and the lights and everything going on has mesmerised them, and they've begged me to please stay here, mum, and play or watch these games. I don't want to go shopping with boring old mum. So his mum let him stay, and she could actually see him. She was only going 3 aisles sort of away. So Rebecca completed her business in the lamp department. It was only about 10 minutes later, around 12:15 p.m, she said she returned to find that Adam and the other boys had disappeared. She searched absolutely everywhere, frantic, obviously. Being a mum, I know I've lost my kids occasionally, but she searched everywhere, in the car park, in the store, in the mall, you name it. So she searched everywhere. There was no cell phones at that time, so she was going out to the payphone to ring the police. I couldn't imagine how Reve felt knowing that she couldn't find her boys. And she looked for him for about 40 to 45 minutes before calling the Hollywood police. On the morning of August 11th, John and Reve appeared on national television saying they still hoped that Adam was alive. A $100,000 reward had been posted for his safe return. And I must give you a warning at this stage. As I go on, there are some details that aren't nice. If you're squeamish, or if you don't like details about things done to children, then I suggest you stop right now and go and watch something else. So, August 11th, John and Reve appeared on this national TV show. What they didn't know is that the day before, on the 10th of August, a severed head was found in a drainage canal alongside the Florida Turnpike near Vero Beach, which is almost about 130 miles from Hollywood. And soon after, the recovered remains were identified as Adam's. The coroner ruled that the cause of Adam's death was asphyxiation. The state of remains suggested Adam had died several days before the discovery of his head, and the rest of his body was never recovered. John and Reve personally believed that the Hollywood Police Department botched the treatment of Adam's disappearance. First, the missing persons investigation, and then the investigation into his murder. And we'll hear John speak about this very shortly. This ugly mug is Otis Toole. After some investigation, police eventually concluded that Adam was abducted by a drifter named Otis Toole near the front exterior of Sears that afternoon, after being instructed to leave by a security guard. According to Toole, he lured him into his 1971 Cadillac with a damaged right bumper with promises of toys and candy, then proceeded to drive north on Interstate 95 toward his home in Jacksonville, Florida. He said Adam at first was docile and compliant, but began to panic as they drove on. Toole said he punched him in the face, but as this just made the situation worse, he then walloped him unconscious. When Toole realised Adam was still breathing, he strangled him to death with a seatbelt. In 1983, investigators lifted bloodstained carpet from his car, but DNA testing then was not as advanced as it is now, of course, and investigators could not tell if the blood was Adam's. It is reported that when a detective assigned to the case in 1994 went to order DNA testing on the bloodstained carpet from that car, The carpeting and the car itself were found to be missing. Toole repeatedly confessed and then retracted accounts of his involvement. Toole was never charged in Adams' case, although he provided seemingly accurate descriptions as to how he committed the crime. Several witnesses also placed him in the Hollywood area in the days leading up to Adams' disappearance. In September 96, he died in prison, aged 49, of psoriasis, while serving a life sentence for other crimes. Before we move on, we're just going to watch a couple of clips about the disappearance, and this is from Zenial Hipsterburn that put together this.
1981, Walsh's wife Reve and their 6-year-old son Adam were at this Sears store in the Hollywood Mall. Reve let Adam watch a group of older boys play video games while she was 3 aisles away shopping for a lamp. When she returned about 5 to 10 minutes later, Adam was nowhere to be found.
Literally thousands of posters just like these are being distributed all over Florida.
The Walshes launched what's still considered today Florida's largest search for a missing child.
He's our only child. He's a beautiful little boy, and we just want him back more than anything.
I just want that person to know that we want to help them as well as Adam.
One moment, Adam is playing video games at a Sears store. The next minute, he's gone, vanished. There were shoppers all around, even a security guard. It was the middle of the day, yet no one really saw much of anything. The sun went down, the store closed, and Adam was nowhere to be found.
We're the parents of Adam Walsh, who's been missing since yesterday noon from the Hollywood Sears Mall on Hollywood Boulevard. 6.5 years.
Reve Walsh.
We'd appreciate anyone with any information about him or have seen him or think they saw him to please call the Hollywood Police. I'm prepared to offer a substantial reward for any information leading to the safe giving up of Adam, and to any of the people out there that might be holding Adam. We are prepared to negotiate ourselves with them for a safe release of Adam.
Police were baffled. How could a little boy disappear from a crowded store in the middle of the day? The numbers. The police station just across the street.
So going back to this ugly bastard, Toole. So Toole repeatedly confessed and then retracted accounts of his involvement. Toole was never charged in Adam's case, I think we said. After he died, his niece told John that he made a deathbed confession to Adam's murder. His confession was viewed as unreliable since he confessed to or implicated himself in many different homicides. In 1997, Hollywood Police Chief Rick Stone conducted an exhaustive review of Adams' case. Although the crime happened 16 years before the time of his review, he provided an analysis of the evidence, including reviewing taped interrogations of Toole. Stone says his review found evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Toole murdered Adam.
For 27 years we've been asking, who could take a 6-year-old boy and murder him and decapitate him? Who? We needed to know. We needed to know. And today we know.
this guy is Jeffrey Dahmer, a serial killer, and in 2007 allegations earned widespread publicity that Jeffrey Dahmer, arrested in Wisconsin in 1991 after killing more than a dozen men and boys, was also named as a suspect in Adam's murder. Lionel Dahmer, his father, called the America's Most Wanted hotline not too long after his son's arrest. He said that while his son was never convicted for it, he believed his son was a pedophile. He was living in Miami Beach at the time, and 2 eyewitnesses placed him at the mall on the day Adam was abducted. One claimed to have seen a strange man walking into the toy department. The other said that he saw a young blonde man with a protruding chin throw a struggling child into a blue van and speed off. Both witnesses recognised the man they had seen as Jeffrey Dahmer when pictures of him were released in the newspapers after his arrest. Reports showed that the delivery shop where he worked had a blue van at the time. We know that he preyed on young men and boys, the youngest being 8 years older than Adam, and his MO included severing his victims' heads. Although, when interviewed about Adam in 1992, he repeatedly denied involvement in the crime, and he stated, "I've told you everything, how I killed them, how I cooked them, how I ate them, who I ate. Why wouldn't I tell you if I did someone else?" So, after this rumour surfaced, John Walsh stated that he had seen no evidence linking Adam's abduction and murder to Jeffrey Dahmer, and it was dismissed. Now, John Walsh and his wife, Reve, went on to do some absolutely amazing things for missing children. Absolutely did awesome things. They're awesome people. Now, on December 16, 2008, Hollywood, Florida Police Chief Wagner, a friend of John's, announced with him present that the case was now closed. An external review of the case had been conducted, and police announced after the release of a book by John Walsh that they were satisfied that Toole was the murderer. Now, this book was called Tears of Rage, From Grieving Father to Crusader for Justice, the untold story of Adam Walsh. A television film, Adam, was made, and it premiered on October the 10th, 1983. The film was based on Walsh's kidnapping and murder and attracted 38 million viewers. That is insane. On its first airing. Each of its 3 broadcasts in 1983, 1984 and 1985 were followed by pictures and descriptions of missing children. A hotline was also created to take calls. The pictures and hotline were ultimately credited with finding a number of missing children. 13 of the 55 children shown in the 1983 broadcast were located. What an amazing thing that they've done, and the results, how awesome. 13 out of 55, absolutely amazing. There was some other amazing things that Reve and John did. In 1984, the US Congress passed the Missing Children's Assistance Act, owing in part to the advocacy of the Walshes and other parents of missing children. It allowed the formation of the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children, which we all know is an amazing centre in the US who does amazing work on behalf of missing children. The Code Adam program for helping lost children in department stores is named in Adam's memory. And the US Congress passed the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act on July 25, 2006, and President Bush signed it into law on July 27th. The signing ceremony took place on the south lawn of the White House, attended by John and Reve. I'm going to now play a video of John going over a few details, and we'll watch that.
There are few greater advocates for the missing than John Walsh. He is the co-founder of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, a project that grew from unimaginable loss. John, thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to host this program with you and, of course, with Callahan. Your life's work began with the loss of son Adam. Take us back to that day. It's been 36 years.
Well, it was July 27th, 1981. I kissed Adam goodbye. He was 6.5 years old at the time, our only son. I was working on the project of my business career, so excited. Reve and I, that's my wife, we're still married after 45 years, still married. Had 3 children since then, but Adam was our first and only. And we had the American dream. We had the beautiful home in Little Hollywood, Florida, near Fort Lauderdale. I had 3 business partners. We were building that $26 million hotel, and I was the happiest guy around. And I kissed Adam goodbye that morning and never saw him again.
So your wife took him to a Sears department store. She lets him go and take a look at some video games. She's browsing, and all of a sudden, chaos.
Well, she was, I say she was the most dedicated mother. She wouldn't let Adam ride his bike on the street or sidewalk, only in the driveway. Brought him to school every day, picked him up. And we called him the little gentleman. I had taken this little boy all over the world with me. I was traveled all the time. And she took him to the store that day. In 1981, video games were brand new. So 2 black boys, about 12, 13 years old, were playing 2 Argentine boys who barely spoke English. Adam was mesmerized by that. Toy department in Sears. Asked his mom, can I stay here and watch him? She said, I'm going. She wasn't browsing. She said, I'm going 3 aisles away.
Okay.
I'll see the top of your head. I'll be right back. Now, this is 1981. And the little boys are trying to stretch out at 6.5 years old. 3 minutes, police estimate. She came back. She couldn't see the top of his head. She asked for help. In those days, Sears store paid personnel part-time, security people part-time. And there was a 17-year-old security guard, untrained that day, who in that 3-minute period came upon the boys arguing and said, you black boys out this door, you white boys out this door. When Reve came back, they refused to tell her that they had ordered Adam out of the store because they thought that there would be lawsuit problems or whatever. The Hollywood police we never knew that for 27 years. So Reve went, and they would not even announce Adam over the store intercom. They went, he's around somewhere, he'll find him. That's how bad it was in 81.
That shocks me that they wouldn't even page him over the loudspeaker. What assholes, man. I don't care whether it was 1981 or 2100. What a simple request from a frantic mother, and they couldn't even do that. Had to give my input there.
Raced up from my office in Miami. Again, Hollywood is in Fort Lauderdale. It took 45 minutes for a black and white uniformed policeman to get there. There were no cell phones in those days. And the police station was across the street. So they didn't take missing children very serious. And when I arrived, Reve was very, so upset. She had been to the payphone 100 times, been out to the car, been inside. And I asked the cop, well, where's the SWAT team? Where are you
There
looking for
wasn't
this
anyone.
boy? There wasn't anybody. And he looked at me and he said, hey, cowboy, slow down here. Don't like your attitude. Most kids walk home or they run away. I went, this is a 6.5-year-old boy. And how could you be so arrogant as to believe that this little boy knows his way home? We live 5 miles from here. He's never walked anywhere in his life. I want a detective here. I want to talk to your boss. I'm a member of this community. I support law enforcement. I know the mayor. You should be looking for this boy. Where the hell is the cavalry? I realize.
It makes you think that had John and Reve been so forceful in telling the police department, get your asses into gear, basically, whether they've got up and off their asses and done anything at all, it appears that John pushing them got some action.
From day one, they weren't doing the job. They had never had a missing child case. Nobody was helping us. Myself and one of my partners from Texas went and never left that police department for 2 weeks. We stayed in and out of there, went home to shower, set up our own phone tap on our phone in case somebody called the house. It was a nightmare, that search.
It was a nightmare, that search, and sadly we know there was a tragic way that Adam's life ended. But since that time, so much has changed. And now, if a child is reported missing, in many cases, there is an instantaneous reaction.
And there wasn't back then. There were cops who said, well, depending on the age of the kid, we're going to wait 24 hours. If it's over a certain age, we're going to wait 48 hours. The first 4 hours are crucial. We didn't really start searching for him until that night where my partners went and got cash. We gave people money for gas to go out and help us search because we thought, what if he did try to walk home and fell in a canal on a golf course? And most of the people that helped me search that night were friends of mine and people that worked for me that came to my aid. There was no organized police search. There were no Amber Alerts. There was no National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The media sort of showed up, and the search took 2 weeks. About the 7th day, the media was over it, and I got great advice from the county coroner who told me, we do not exchange information about unidentified dead. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, your son could be dead in a morgue somewhere. We do it in Florida by voluntary basis every 6 months by mail. He said, is your son in the NCIC? And I said, what the hell is that? He said, the National Crime Information Computer. It's full of millions of cars, boats, and planes, convicted felons, and a racehorse, but no missing children, no unidentified dead. I said, I can't believe that. We put a man on the moon. You and I are going to have to call every county coroner in Florida to see if Adam's body is in the morgue. I know he's alive. Somebody good's got to have him. He said, I don't think so. He said, it's up to you. Double the reward. I said, I put $100,000 together. It's all I have. My partners, I said, at least it'll get the media back. It'll get the attention. Because guess what? There were only 3 channels in 1981. ABC, NBC, and CBS. They all turned me down. I called every one of them 10 times during the search and said, let me on, please. I need to come to New York and do this. We'll find Adam. They went, if we do it for you, we've got to do it for every other missing kid. Finally, David Hartman let me on Good Morning America 14 days later, and that was the day we found Adam's remains. His severed head was found in a canal 140 miles north of our home.
It is still so.
What a difference that he has made from 1981, where obviously the media wasn't helping, the police weren't doing everything, Amber Alerts weren't in. I mean, they weren't helpful for the Amber Alert. That was another tragic story. But the Centre for Missing and Exploited Children, he has campaigned, him and his wife have campaigned and changed so much for missing children. And we know that finally the media do take notice of some cases. I'm not going to say all cases because it's not always all cases. And some cases get more media attention than others, but that's a whole nother story.
So hard to hear that detail as you recount it all these years later. I know that this launched you into your life's work, which became trying to keep other people's children safe. And you mentioned NCMEC, you mentioned Amber Alerts, you mentioned Code Adam, sex registry, sex offender registries. All of these came out of this horrible, horrible tragedy. Does it give you some measure of peace to know that in your loss, other children's lives have been spared?
I think we've saved children. We've caught people that hurt children. But I have to give the credit to my beautiful, strong wife, because while I was dying of a broken heart and lost 30 pounds, could not get that hotel open. It was way over budget. We saw our life savings and our investments of many, many people that were planning on that hotel opening evaporate. She was in our garage answering the 40,000 letters that came from strangers around the country, wishing us well, mass cards, praying for Adam, but thousands of those letters were people who had runaways, non-custodial parental abductions, people who didn't get the children in custody in the divorce, who took the children and ran away, people who were just desperate for help and trying to figure out how we figured out how to do a poster, how we launched the largest search. I was intent upon finding who got Adam and killed him, and I was going to try to figure out a way to how to kill him. I was bent on revenge. I couldn't work, I couldn't eat, and this woman said there is nothing to help missing children. I want to do something to make sure. And she said it to me one night at the lowest point of our life. She said, we forgot who the real victim is. Adam is. We're left behind. Let's make sure he didn't die in vain.
You channeled that energy and have done some amazing things. You know, most people see you as the America's Most Wanted man and maybe didn't even know this story. John, I just want to thank you for your dedication, for your candor, for the love that you have for other children. Children are safer now because of you. Thank you.
That was a really lovely story, and that obviously he was talking to WUSA 9. That was just beautiful. He's such an amazing man, and him and his wife have done some amazing things. I'm absolutely in awe of these two people. So thank you very much for your time. I know I'm not I'm not the greatest at this, but I hope that I'm getting better. And I hope you now know the story. I'll leave the links below, and it's a fascinating case and the fact of following Reve and John and what they have done. He's not just the man from America's Most Wanted that had a child killed. You know, he has done some amazing things. I hope to see you next time. Thank you very much. I'm out.